Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm, and you are watching the first part of What If Naruto was sent back in time by Gaara during Shodaimes era. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
With a sigh, Naruto glanced across the Suna village before turning to face the man in the doorway and asking, "How long will this go on, my friend?" Gaara looked at him and replied, "A year, maybe two if we're lucky. There is just no way to stop it here." After defeating Akatsuki and then the war that followed took every country by storm. Farmlands were turned to wastelands. Rivers poisoned. Ships sunk. No one could have predicted the power vacuum that would be felt by that war. It was just too costly. Nods as he says, "2/3 of all the lives in the world were lost during it. I can still hear the screams of pain for everyone I killed during that time to save Konoha." Without saying anything else, Gaara nods and adds, "I as well for Suna, but in the end." Naruto stated, "I have nothing left, Gaara. Everything I was fighting for is gone. Madara won. Even after I killed him he still won. Konoha was destroyed." Gaara inquired, "What would you give to save Konoha if you could, my friend?" Not really listening to him, Naruto said, "Anything." Gaara replied, "Would you be willing to change history completely and forever?" Naruto asked, "What are you up to, raccoon?" For the first time, genuinely turning away from the demolished village of Suna. When he finally demonstrated that he was creating hand seals, Gaara grinned and said, "A lesson a fox taught me: never give up and never believe in fate. You more than anyone else have a chance to change it all, starting with where your story truly began." He then slammed his hands to the ground and said, "Goodbye, my friend." Suddenly, the room was filled with blue and yellow light, which faded. Sunlight blinded Naruto, so he opened his eyes slowly and covered them. He sat up, looked around, and discovered that he was in the center of Suna, but the village had changed from what it had been. After blinking and examining himself, Naruto reflected, "I feel different for some reason, even though I can't see anything different." Naruto heard a man yell, "Hey kid, what the hell you doing on my roof? Get off." As he leapt to another roof and landed in an ally, Naruto looked down and said, "Sorry." He then went into his mind and saw that the cage where Kyuubi had been was empty. He scowled, thinking, "That can't be good." He then went back to normal, reaching for a kunai and pulling one out, cutting his finger, thinking, "Well, at least my healing factor is still working right." Think, Suna does not look like this, but I saw the canyon walls that surround the village, so it is Suna. Gaara said I could change the future, so does that mean he sent me to the past? Damn it, but when did he send me to and what did he have planned? I need to get to Konoha once I can figure out where I am. With a sigh, he surveyed the village and noticed a guard at the gate. He scowled and proceeded to the gate. The officer replied, "Halt, where do you think you're going and who are you? I don't recognize you." Naruto stated, "I'm just passing through on my way to Wave to see my aunt and uncle. My parents passed away from bandits north of here. I arrived late yesterday and want to get on my way." "You have larger chakra reserves than I do, and you are armed like a shinobi," the man said, glancing at Naruto. Naruto responds by saying, "My father was a shinobi before he lost his arm and married my mother. He taught me a few things so I could defend myself when we were traveling, since he was a merchant and wanted me to be one." The individual inquired, "Are you interested in becoming a shinobi? We are always looking for new recruits here." Naruto replied, "I don't know, I might someday, but I have to see my family first." The man laughed and said, "You don't really expect me to believe that bullshit story, do you? Every ninja in the village has seen and felt you since the moment you arrived a little earlier today. Now why don't we go see the cage and see what he wants to do with you, spy?" As he approached Naruto. Naruto shrugged, and when 3 more ninja appeared around him, he glanced at them, glanced over his shoulders, closed his eyes for a second, and started to twist as he let go of chakra and yelled, "Kaiten!" The chakra dome then exploded, flung the 4 men away, and he fled as quickly as he could out of the village gates. When he started to feel extremely exhausted after running for about an hour, he thought, "Shit, that took a lot more out of me than I thought it would." He scowled as he started to flash through hand seals to use a jutsu he had made with Gaara's assistance. After turning his head and spotting multiple chakra signatures approaching suddenly, a cloud of dust covered his previous location. 20 ninja showed up 2 minutes later, scouting the area where the dust had been. One of the men said, "Find him. His track and chakra signature showed he was here just moments ago." Naruto was inside a sand dune 20 feet away in a 3-foot cube, his eyes closed and focused as the men surveyed the area. When 19 of the men returned to the location where Naruto had first vanished 30 minutes later, the leader exclaimed, "Damn it! The cage is not going to like this. Where is Kalkar?" A Chunin replied, His body is about a mile east of here, sir. It looks like he was attacked by some kind of creature. He was in several pieces." As they started to return to Suna, their leader scowled and said, Let's head back to inform the cage but look for signs of any creature or him. 5 minutes later, there was another dust cloud, and Naruto waited until an hour had gone by before he emerged once more. He drank some water and then started to move in Konoha's direction. The leader of the men was standing there once more when he abruptly tensed up and leapt to the side to avoid a kunai. Naruto scowled at him and questioned, "What?" The individual replied, "I must say that was a good trick you pulled back there, but you made a mistake as I felt the iron in your weapons." When Naruto noticed black sand forming, he scowled. "Are you the Jinchuriki of Shukaku?" inquired Naruto. After he froze, the man said, "No, why?" Naruto replied, "I assumed you were since you were manipulating sand." The man inquired, "And how do you know about that?" Looking around, Naruto remarked, "I knew the host of it once." As the sand swirled around Naruto, the man remarked, "Not possible, kid, it's been sealed in a kettle for the last 30 years. The man paused and gave Naruto a sidelong glance when he said, "Tell me, what year is it? The Godem cage never did tell me when he sent me to." He stated, "The Godem cage, we are currently under the Nidaime cage." As he put his hands together and said, "Harem Jutsu," Naruto gazed up at the sky and remarked, "The Yondaime died 8 years ago and the Sandaime died 15 years before that. He ruled for nearly 20 years, so that means that it's about 45 years back. That means it's around the time GG team really began. Cool, thanks." The scene was filled with 30 nude women of various appearances making out. Naruto grinned as he and his clones each grabbed a kunai and shuriken and fled in separate directions after the man was blown back with a huge nosebleed. There were 25 men there when he woke up, and he bowed when he saw one and said, "Kazekage-sama." With a glance at the man, the Nidaime Kazekage questioned, "What happened here, Koto?" Koto replied, "Forgive me, sir, but he distracted me with talk of Shukaku and then he was able to surprise me with a jutsu that instantly knocked me out. I don't remember what it was he used, though I have memory loss for those few seconds. Also, we have no idea what it was that killed Kalker." The Kazekage looked at him and replied, "I see. I want a report on what he said and did in 2 days, as well as the body check to find out what attacked him. We don't need our traders attacked bringing in new supplies. It's obvious we won't find him, so let's return to Suna." Before having to hide in the sand once more to allow the heat of the desert to pass by and release the clones, Naruto had traveled roughly 5 miles. Naruto resumed his journey toward the border. 2 hours later, Naruto scowled as he felt ki when he arrived at the plains between wind and fire countries. He turned just in time to see a 3-foot-tall red fox leaping at him with its claws out, ready to kill him. The creature began to circle Naruto, but before he could react, a wall of energy appeared in front of him. Stopping it growled and uttered the words, "Damn you and damn your father and damn you Shinigami. That blasted seal keeps me from eating you." Blinking, Naruto said, "Kyuubi, is that you?" "For once that small brain of yours was right about something," the fox said, giving him a glare. While attempting to determine what had saved him, Naruto questioned, "What happened to you and how are you free?" Kyuubi growled as he said, Free. Does this look like I am fucking free to you? I can only go 2 miles from you before I am unable to move. I am still bound to that accursed seal and you even after I escaped during that jutsu the raccoon used." "At least it's better than the cage, right?" said Naruto. Kyuubi snarled at him while releasing a lot of ki. "I hate you, boy. You have something that belongs to me, my power. I have 1 tail of chakra 1. You have absorbed 3 tails of my chakra, making it yours, and your accursed father sealed the rest away in that damn toad scroll. I want my power back." When Naruto noticed Kyuubi's attempt at intimidation, he chuckled and asked, "Ah, is Kyuubi mad?" Like before, Kyuubi leapt at him again but was stopped. He yelled, Damn you to hell. I want to eat your flesh from your bones and bath in your blood, but the damn Shinigami still protects you." Feeling arrogant, Naruto approached and seized Kyuubi, who then grew larger. Naruto then released his hold, and Kyuubi fell back to a 2-foot-tall fox. Kyuubi snarled and uttered, "Damn you, it took me eating that human to get enough strength to grow that tall, and then you take my chakra just like that." As Naruto put it, "What human?" With a sneer, Kyuubi remarked, "One of those who were tracking you, kit. You said I took your chakra, then why did you get bigger and how did I do it?" Naruto scowled, thinking that Kyuubi was the reason behind the death of the person they were missing. Kyuubi looked at him and said, "Think about it, human. You have my power. I wanted when you picked me up. I took some of my chakra from you, but since you didn't give it to me freely, the seal took it back plus more." Gleaming, Naruto uttered, "So I can just take your chakra and make it mine and kill you?" Kyuubi looked at him and said, "Make no mistake, boy, I am not your friend, I am not your pet, I am not your partner, I am your prisoner, but I am bound to you by that accursed seal. If you die, I die, and so I will make sure you do not die. I will make your life a living hell, though you can't kill me or you might kill yourself." Naruto replied, "Trust me, Fox. I am more than willing to die to stop you. Remember when I prepared for Madara? I learned that jutsu, the one that still binds you to me. If you ever do anything I don't like, the next thing you will see is the Shinigami taking both our asses. Do I make myself clear?" Kyuubi gazed thoughtfully before a concealed grin emerged as Naruto spoke and uttered the word, Madara. Blinking, Naruto said, "Yeah, what about him?" Kyuubi looked at Naruto and replied, "I think I know what that raccoon was talking about. If what I heard you say about how far back we are, then Madara has not summoned me to this plane yet." Thinking about what that would mean, Naruto blinked and said, "And?" With an evil smirk, Kyuubi remarked, "And, if I am not summoned to this plane yet, then I am not bound to this world yet. How about a little deal, kid?" Narrowing his eyes, Naruto scowled and questioned, "What kind of deal?" Kyuubi responded, "If I am right, then that means that the summoning contract for my kind is still free. You can no longer use the toads. If you do, then you may make it where the pervert will never get it." After blinking, Naruto remarked, "I didn't think of that. Tell me, what do you have planned, Fox?" Kyuubi replied, "If the Fox contract is still free, then you can claim it for yourself, giving you a new contract and preventing Madara from gaining access to it to summon me to fight the Shodaimes, resulting into me being bound to this world." His eyes grew larger as Naruto uttered, "And if you were not bound to this world, then would that mean that you would not be here to be sealed into me?" Kyuubi sighed, "Not exactly. I won't be here to be bound to the future you, but you will still be you. If it was not for my chakra in your system, then you would have ceased to exist the moment we arrived, because an object cannot be in two places at the same time. It is one of Kami's rules. If you notice, the necklace that woman gave you is gone now because it exists here." "Alright, if what you said is true, then what would happen if I were to summon the other you then?" Naruto said, closing his eyes as a tear fell from his eye as his eyes widened and he looked at his chest, which was gone. Smirking, Kyuubi remarked, "Oh, that is easy. I will cease to exist just like that necklace and then pass on." "Wait, you're willing to die to be free?" Naruto said, his eyes wide. As he started to run, Kyuubi snarled, "Yes, now follow me. I will take you to the shrine of Inari where the Kitsune scroll is, and we can end this petty excuse of a life we both share here, and I can pass on." After scowling, Naruto started to follow the fox. When Kyuubi appeared at the entrance to the cave a few hours later, Naruto said, "The shrine is in the bottom of this cave. Hurry up and let's go." Then he thought, could this be a trick? But if it's not, then I will be free of him forever, and then Madara won't use Kyuubi, and my future life will be better. If I do this, then the future is changed. After arguing for a few more seconds, Naruto nods to himself and starts to enter the cave. 20 minutes later, he found himself in a room full of torches as he took a spiderweb off his body. He thought, wonder how those torches are still working since it looked like no one has been here for years. Kyuubi responded, "There it is, Kit. Sign it and let's go outside to try it out." "Are you sure about this, Kyuubi? I mean, I don't want Madara to get you and then ruin my life, but are you sure you want to die?" Naruto scowled as he approached it. Kyuubi barked and said, "Boy, I hate you and you hate me. Neither of us want to see the other's face again, so hurry up." With a sigh, Naruto unrolled the scroll and blinked when he saw that it only had one name. He thought, Inari, the god of futility, and Kitsune, the name of a kami. He signed his name on the scroll with his thumb before placing his handprint on it. "No, this isn't supposed to happen. I was to be freed when the bond was broken. No." Kyuubi screamed as he started to fade away as the cave suddenly glowed brightly. He vanished, and Naruto tensed as a gentle female voice said, "Be at peace, human. I mean you no harm. I am Inari." He felt something envelop him from behind. With wide eyes, Naruto uttered, "Inari," as in. His eyes were heavy as he felt himself relaxing, and the voice continued to hold him from behind while saying, "Yes, Naruto, I am who you think I am. I have been waiting for you." "Waiting for me? Why?" inquired Naruto. Inari replied, "Because you are special. I have watched over you since the day you were born and saw what has happened to you. You've been blessed by me. Even if you do not realize it, you were destined to change the world, but to do so you had to see the way the world was so you could change it for the better. That was why I allowed the Uchiha to first sign the contract to gain control of Kyuubi. I know the world suffered for it, but in the end you saw what would happen if the world was left as it was. You are still young, and I know you do not understand, but someday you will." With his eyes closing, Naruto questioned, "But why me?" As Naruto collapsed on the floor and the room's torches went out, Inari muttered, "You will understand someday. For now, sleep so I can show you something. Welcome to my home, Naruto. You are one of a few blessed to ever be here. Now, as you can see, there are several people from your life that you know here. The reason they are here is they are going to aid you in your new life. You see, None of them will ever be born. They all were originally born because of the Kyuubi attack on your village. People who would have gotten together now won't because you have changed the world. There's an old saying that a butterfly flapping its wings on one side of the world can cause a tsunami on the other side of the world. Naruto found himself in a field full of flowers and blinked as he saw several people he knew from his past. When Naruto heard Inari, he asked, "But if they are never going to be born, then what will happen to them?" With tears in his eyes. Inari stated, "I am not a cruel kami, Naruto. I know how you feel for each of them and how they feel for you, so I offered them a choice and they agreed." The Kyuubi became arrogant with his position and power and he turned his back on me, believing he was above me. He was foolish and will be punished. He tried to trick you earlier by changing history with you signing the contract. He expected you to cease to exist since the bond between you and him will disappear because he would never have attacked your village. He used your own fears and doubts against you, but I would not let that happen. You are precious to me, Naruto, as is all kitsunes. As Inari held him from behind, Naruto continued to look at the people he knew and uttered, "But I am not a kitsune." Inari giggled and said, "You are more kitsune than you know, Naruto. Those marks on your face are not from Kyuubi, they are from my blessing of you and choosing you as one of mine so I may watch you and see that you were truly worthy. You will live out your life as you see fit, and when you pass on you will come here to be with your friends and family in my home to enjoy your well-deserved rest, but you will also become something more. I will wait until then to tell you what it is, but know that your eternity will not be the pain you felt as a child. You will only find love and happiness here now. As for your friends here, I will explain what is to happen to them and the choice I gave them. You have signed the Kitsune contract, which will become your family contract for as long as they live, so only you and your descendants may sign it now. Up till this point there has only been one Kitsune in the summoning, and that was Kyuubi. I have taken your friends here and offered them to join you in eternity here, and they have agreed, and they and their families will aid you and yours by becoming your summon partners." He was about to say something as Inari said, "Shush, child. Your worries and thoughts are not valid. I know you're worried about what will happen to them and if they get hurt, but do not worry, they're under my protection now. As I said, they would not have been born now, but I allowed them to be reborn as kitsune here in this place. They shall stay as you remember them, but when they are in the human world they will be in fox form. Now please step forward and tell him what you can do, my children." As they approached, Naruto observed that the first one greeted him with, "Hello, Naruto." Naruto stutteringly uttered, "Sakura-chan." Sakura grinned and replied, "I know, Naruto. Relax. I am happy here and have been here since the day I passed on. Inari has taken care of me and the others very well, and we can only wait for you to join us here. My mother met my father after Kyuubi passed through her village, destroying it on his way to Konoha. He was a merchant that came to help repair it. Without them ever meeting, I was not born. I will be a healer, Naruto. When you summon me, if you or someone is injured and need medical attention, just use about enough chakra for a regular Rasengan and think my name and I shall come. I want you to live a long and happy life with no regrets and have many great adventures to tell us about and lots of little Narutos running around to annoy the future in you." When she transformed into a before, walking back to the others and changing back into herself. When the next figure appeared, Naruto asked, "But you were nowhere near Konoha, so how could the Kyuubi have affected you?" Haku, with a sorrowful smile. "I am glad to hear and see that you took my words to heart, Naruto-kun. Like Sakura, I take about the same amount of chakra and I am a water, wind, and ice fox. It wasn't exactly the Kyuubi but Madara that affected me, Naruto-kun. Remember, I came from the land of water and Madara was the Mizukage who started the bloodline purge. If it wasn't for that, then my mother would never have gone into hiding and I would never have been born." He transformed into a two-tailed white fox, then walked over to Sakura, put his head on her shoulder, and wrapped his arms around her waist. The next person to approach Naruto grinned and remarked, "I see the flames of youth burn brightly in you, Naruto-kun. Something's never change, do they, Lee?" Naruto shook his head. Lee sighed and continued, "And some things do unlike the others. I will be born in a sense but never born. My mother was attacked by bandits on her way home to a nearby village a few months after the Kyuubi attack and was injured. Originally she died because of the injury, but a medic Nin who was returning from a mission to help victims of the Kyuubi attack who were disfigured came across her in time to deliver me, but since the medic won't be coming by, I will die with my mother and yet never be born. I do not regret the choice I made to agree to be a kitsune. I will require about as much chakra as your sexy no jutsu, and like the others think my name. I am a speed freak. Even now I will be able to move as I was in life. I can deliver messages or items, and do some quick attacks." When he transformed into a brown on its hind legs. Lee grinned, went to the other two, and changed back as Naruto snickered at that. Naruto glanced at them, then at the other four, and appeared somewhat dejected. He remarked as the next person approached, "Fate, it seems, is not without a sense of humor, huh?" Naruto replied, "Oh, Fate has a sense of humor all right, she just has a weird way of displaying it, Neji." For Inari, it was true. Neji stated, "My fate is simple, really. My father and mother did not want to comfort each other after the death of everyone who died because of Kyuubi, and so I was not conceived. They would later have a daughter before my father died to save Hinata. I am a scout and can shut down some chakra holes, and I require about as much chakra as your Kaden." Neji transformed into a gray fox and joined Lee, Sakura, and Haku, which Naruto witnessed. After glancing at the previous three, Naruto concluded, "This should be interesting." Upon approaching, the next person said, "Hello again, Naruto-kun." "Hello to you as well, Yakumo, how are you?" said Naruto. As she transformed into a brown fox and ran over to jump into Lee's arms, Yakumo nods and says, "I am good like Neji. I was born when my clan tried to replace our numbers after the Kyuubi attack. Since there is no attack, my parents later had a son instead of me. I am a Genjutsu fox. Ironic, huh? I require as much chakra as a replacement and calling my name." Naruto thought, "Okay, did not see that pairing." When Naruto noticed the next visitor, he questioned, "Do I even want to know?" "No, but I'm going to tell you anyway," the individual said. Naruto was saying, "If you so much as mention the Teme name one time, I will kick your red ass." The individual continued, "And I was sure that you would forgive little old me when you learned the truth." Naruto looked at him and said, "You tried to rape me to keep your cover, then you tried to kill Sakura-chan, after that you stabbed Kiba." The individual replied, "Hey, the mutt deserved it after he groped my ass, and I told you I was sorry. Besides, I always have a thing for a guy with large chakra reserves, and as for Sakura, I didn't hit anything vital." Snorting, Sakura uttered, "I lost one of my ovaries, bitch." According to the individual, "You know you love me, cousin." "All right, Karen, tell me about yourself," Naruto said. Karen said, "Yeah, well, my story basically the same as hers, except my mom was her aunt and mom left after the attack to start over and came to Konoha, where she met up with Danzo and agreed to make me a test tube baby. My bloodline, he got a sample somewhere for. Jiraiya-sama saved me and put me in his spy network, where I eventually got into Orochimaru's circle as best as I could, but since mom never went to Konoha, know me as for what I am, infiltration. I can shapeshift to spy for short periods of time." As she turned into a red fox and walked over and rubbed against Neji's leg. According to Naruto, "Okay, well, I am dying to hear." The individual said, "Give me Paki and you won't get hurt. I'm replacing Kyuubi as the boss summon." Itachi, they don't make Paki yet," stated Inari. Before giving Naruto a scroll and saying, "This is the recipe for Paki, do not summon me without a box of Paki, do you understand?" Itachi quickly righted a scroll that appeared. Naruto was looking for assistance, and Inari, who continued to hold him behind, said, "Sorry Naruto-kun. I actually wanted to get Zabuza as the new Kyuubi, but he's currently fighting in a tournament to see who is the most badass swordsman ever. Shinigami gave me Itachi here as part of the group package." Itachi found out they had a forbidden Paki tree in the afterlife, and he sort of went ape shit on those who were worshipping it because they would not move so he could get to it. Turns out the real reason he killed his best friend in the first place was because he ate the last of Itachi Paki. Basically, he's your boss summon. He will appear the size of Kyuubi, and he can use fire attacks and mind fuck anyone who's stupid enough to look into his eyes with his genjutsu. "Right, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Any specific flavor?" Naruto said, perspiring, as he turned to face Itachi. Itachi replied, "I am to Paki as you are to ramen. You don't have it, I will go medieval on your ass." "Right Itachi, no offense, but you're actually scarring me a little bit," Naruto said, his perspiration dropping. As he vanished onto the field, Itachi turned and left, saying, "Do not forget my Paki." Sakura replied, "Don't worry, he is that way with all of us. We are thinking about putting up a sign that says does not play well with others and give him his own little section." Naruto replied, "Yeah, might be a good idea. Now I just need to find someone to make Paki." Inari responded, "Well, as much fun as it has been having you here, Naruto, it is about time for you to go back. Before you go though, I must tell you that things are not as you remember hearing about them as. Madara has not done anything wrong as of yet and may never, so you can't hate him for anything yet. Tsunade is not the Tsunade you know. She is still young and has not faced the heartache that the one you knew had known. Do not tell anyone that you're from the future. If they ask, you are just a nomad whose home was destroyed, which was true in a sense. What you do now is your choice. You have your summons and you have your skills and yourself to rely on. Do what you think is best and don't try to change the world. Just live, the world will change itself." Goodbye. When he awoke, Naruto discovered the scroll he had previously signed was gone. When he woke up and found himself in the dimly lit temple, he stood up, walked out of the temple, and stretched a little before feeling a soft hand around his neck. He looked down and was startled to see that the Shodaimes necklace had been altered to include a fox. He grinned and said, Thank you, Inari, as he began to walk toward Konoha. 3 days later, as he was getting closer to Konoha, Naruto paused, looked around, and thought, that's strange, I know I just felt a surge of chakra for a moment almost as if, before turning around. When he finally came to a road, he saw a genin team, the Junin dead with a kunai in his head, and an Iwa nin bringing a kunai down on a black-haired girl of about 12 who was wearing a blue dress with red shorts underneath. The girl was cowering and had her eyes closed in terror as he looked around and took the stab kunai from the log. Naruto swiftly swapped the girl for a log, and the Iwa nin uttered the words, replacement. Naruto looked over and saw 2 other Konoha genin by their headbands. He said, Oi, dipshit 1. Dipshit 2, your Konoha nins, not little coward. Catch your teammate while I deal with these 3 inches. He held the girl by her pants over his head and threw her at the 2 shocked boys, only to have all 3 crash hard into the ground. When 2 ninja with Iwa headbands appeared on either side of him, the previous ninja asked, Who are you? Naruto replied, Dead men don't need to know my name, so why are you attacking the kiddies? As he completed the hand signs he was creating, one person said, None of your business, dead man. He then added, Earth style. Earth Dragon Jutsu. A dragon of earth emerged from the ground and charged at Naruto. Naruto yawned and leapt on the dragon's head, shocking everyone as he charged toward the person who attempted to kill the girl by pulling a kunai. However, as he leapt off the dragon to stab the man, he quickly threw the kunai at a spot 20 feet away, and the nin he was about to land on vanished, and a log appeared where he was. However, Naruto vanished in a puff of smoke, and the kunai he threw landed on the ground next to the log, and he appeared exactly where the log had been before it was used as a replacement. He then performed a leg sweep of the shocked man who had replaced himself, grabbing him by the neck and slamming him neck first in the ground, crushing his windpipe. 10 kunais stabbed him in the back before anyone could speak, and he also rose in a cloud of smoke. The second Iwa nin screamed in agony as he covered himself when Naruto suddenly exploded out of the ground with a haymaker to his groin. Naruto then grabbed him, spun him around to get behind him, and snapped his neck. As he turned to face the 3 genins, the third Iwa nin was already flashing hand signs. He said, Earth style. 4-sided coffin. 4 slabs of earth formed around the 3 and started to fall on them. Acting swiftly, Naruto ran beneath the 4 earth slabs, clutching a Rasengan in each hand, and slammed them into the slabs above his head, demolishing the wall and launching the dirt skyward. Naruto asked, panting a little as the dirt vanished, Are you 3 all right? While surveying the area. Looking up, a boy with sandy brown hair in a gray and blue shirt stammered, Yeah, who are you? After glancing at the 3, Naruto said, The name's Naruto, what's yours, kid? With his gaze fixed on the child who had spoken, or more precisely, on the object on his neck. Pointing to the girl as Choco and a boy with brown hair and brown eyes who were roughly Dango's age, the boy said, I'm Nawaki Senju and these are my teammate Choco Kobo and Dango Sake. After blinking at the names, Naruto pointed with his head and remarked, I see, I take it the guy over there was your sensei. Nawaki replied, Yeah, this was our first mission out of the village as is he dead? In an attempt to uplift the children, Naruto remarked, If he's not dead he isn't happy. Yeah, that was a fatal hit, the third Iwa nin got away so we can't stay here too long, he said with a sigh after realizing it had failed. What was your mission? Nawaki responded, I don't know if I should tell you, you could be a spy or something. Naruto replied, Smart kid. Well, whatever it was is over now. You all 3 have a new mission. Look around the area for anything that looks like it might not belong here, like a piece of paper or maybe a scroll or a kunai or anything like that, and bring it to me. I will seal up the bodies of your teacher and those 2 Iwa nins and escort you all back to Konoha. Dango had recovered by this point and inquired, Why should we trust you? Naruto replied, You shouldn't, but what chance do you think you will have if I leave your asses here and could kill those 2 that easily? Your 3 scared shit genin who just had your first taste of combat, your sensei dead, and odds are you can't find your way out of a paper bag, so either you listen to me and follow my orders or I leave your asses. As soon as possible, Nawaki said, We will follow your orders. Good, said Naruto, now move. Naruto glanced at the girl as the 2 boys became preoccupied with their work and remarked, That means you also. The girl said, as Naruto smelled something, looked at her more closely, sighed, and thought, Great. After deciding, he bit his thumb, flashed through some hand signals, slammed his hand on the ground, and thought, Sakura. A puff of smoke then appeared. After glancing around, a 2-tailed red fox said, That was quick, you already need my help, Baka. Looking at the girl, Naruto remarked, Yeah, good to see you again, Sakura, but I got a problem that needs a woman touch. Glancing at the girl who had detected Naruto's scent, Sakura remarked, Damn Naruto, you usually only do that to people who can fight back. Naruto was saying, hardy har har. A genin team got jumped by 3 Iwa nins. They're sensei toast and I'm taking them back to Konoha, check out shades. After identifying the code word, Sakura glanced around, focusing on the direction the shadows were facing. Her gaze landed on Nawaki's form and then the necklace he was wearing. She widened her eyes and exclaimed, I see, is that? In an attempt to save the girl from embarrassment, Sakura smiled as Naruto nodded and turned to face the fidgeting girl. Look girl, I know you're scared and everything about almost dying, but that was almost. You need to pull yourself together and move because you're still alive now. I want you to go over to those trees over there with my summon and get that wound treated. I don't want you to get re-injured later or get an infection. With wide eyes, the girl realized what he had done and mouthed the words, thank you. She then turned and followed Sakura into the woods. When Nawaki approached, Naruto immediately moved to stand in front of the woods, obstructing his view. What wound? I didn't see here get hurt, and what was with that fox? Nawaki asked. Naruto replied, that was one of my summons and the girl had a small wound on her leg. I am trained to notice things like that, but you're not trained yet. Return to your duties, genin. Nawaki remarked, hey, what makes you boss? After displaying his heat on his belt, Naruto remarked, I outrank you. As Nawaki returned to work, he was wide-eyed and said, right, sorry about that sir. His family had taught him to respect people in higher positions. A cage bunshin that Naruto created started sealing the 3 bodies. Sakura and Shoko returned to the woods a short while later, and Sakura remarked, I checked her out and got that wound cleaned up and she ready to go, but her reserves are like mine when we first teamed up. I see, thank you for coming Sakura. I know this wasn't what you were expecting, Naruto said, blinking. Sakura replied, no problem Naruto, I am very happy to help and see you understand woman finally. If you need us, don't wait until you're half dead to call. We are a team Naruto. We always will be a team. Now go get lost on the road of life or something. With a chuckle, Naruto said, maybe miss you. As she vanished into the smoke, Sakura grinned and said, CYA later. The pair of boys approached and inquired, are you okay, Shoko? Shoko's cheeks flushed a little as she said, yes. Sakura was very helpful. As he examined her, Nawaki remarked, yeah, I can't even see a scar or anything. Redder than ever, Shoko declared, I don't have any scars. With a clear throat, Naruto asked, are you done? When both boys nod and display a few weapons and a scroll, Naruto takes it, opens it, and reads it before asking, where did you find this? Dango replied, it was over there in the woods tied to a tree. Why? When the cage bun Shin brought a scroll with the 3 bodies, Naruto pocketed it and said, nothing, let's go. He then pocketed the scroll as well and started to walk toward Konoha with the 3 genin in tow. Within 20 minutes Nawaki asked, hey, how come I don't recognize you? I mean, I know there are a lot of ninja in Konoha that I don't know, but there are not that many blondes, so you should stick out. That's a secret, Naruto said, glancing over his shoulder. If the Hokage permits it, I will tell you later, okay? Shoko questioned, why can't you tell us? As the 3 genin appeared perplexed. Naruto stated, a ninja life is deception and secrets. I have many secrets that I don't want to tell about and you must learn to accept that. Nawaki inquired, how did you get a fox summoning? I've never heard of it before. Naruto looked up and said, it's my family summoning and nobody knows I have it. I ask all 3 of you not to tell anyone about it because I want to keep it a secret. Not even the Hokage knows about it. Dango replied, but doesn't your family know you have it? All 3 were shocked when Naruto said, my family is dead. Nawaki inquired, how did you beat those guys so fast back there? After a short while. Naruto stated, it was just 2 chunin and a junin and they underestimated me because of my age, but the junin got away. How old are you? Shoko inquired. 17, said Naruto. What's your last name, Naruto? Inquired Dango. The topic was changed when Naruto said, I rather not say. Tell me, what skills do you 3 have? I mean, what did your sensei teach you? According to Nawaki, he taught us all 3 the leaf balancing and Kaiten, Phoenix Fireball Jutsu, target practicing and how to improve our taijutsu. With a nod, Naruto inquired, what else? The 3 of them appeared perplexed, so Dango questioned, what do you mean what else? In fact, Naruto halted his progress and turned to face them, saying, I know you're in a clan called Nawaki, but are the other 2 also? He asked, do you have ninja parents? After they both shook their heads no. Dango replied, no. Besides the clans, everyone who just came out of the academy this year is from non-ninja family. Don't you know that? Do you know the basic 3? Inquired Naruto. Naruto slapped his head and said, Nawaki, when we get to Konoha I am killing your grandfather. The three of them appeared perplexed as he started to make his way toward the village. With a look of terror on his face, Nawaki yelled, "No, you can't," and rushed to seize Naruto's arm. "It is just me running my mouth. I won't kill him, but you three should not have been sent on a mission outside of the village. You are all three poorly trained," Naruto said, shaking his head and putting his hand on Nawaki's head. Nawaki continued, "But we were the top 3 students in our class. Kami, help us. How the hell did we survive?" Naruto asked, looking up at the sky. "Okay. Do you 3 know all 12 of the hand signs?" he asked, looking back down. All 3 nod and Naruto said, "Good, for the next hour I do not want you to say a word. I want you to walk in a triangle around me with Nawaki starting in front, Dango on the left and Shoko on the right. You will walk while practicing your hand signs, going through all 12 over and over again, trying to go faster each time. If you mess up you have to say the word, right, and all 3 of you will have to switch places with Dango going where Shoko was, Shoko to where Nawaki was, and Nawaki to where Dango was. Do not lie about messing up or I will punish you. Every time that Nawaki makes it back in front of me will count as 1 point. By the time we get to Konoha, every point you have will be 1 hour of running from the Hokage Mountain to Training Ground 1. However, I will be timing you from your starting speed on the hand signs, and if all 3 of you can decrease your 12 hand signs to less than 5 seconds, I will teach you a jutsu that will make you stronger and make you better ninja. Do you all 3 understand?" After the 3 of them exchanged glances, Nawaki questioned, "Why are you telling us all this, Naruto?" Naruto was saying, "Until the Hokage says otherwise. That is Naruto-sensei to you, Genin." Shoko asked, "Are you really going to be our new sensei?" as all 3 eyes brightened. Naruto replied, "If the Hokage will let me, now let's go. Get information and begin, and don't stop walking. You need to learn to multitask and keep an eye on your surroundings as well." When he started walking. 4 hours later, the Konoha gates were in sight. When they got there, Naruto's eyes twitched and he thought, "Never thought I see the day Gigi did gate duty or see those 2 bastards young." He glanced at the second man standing there and thought, That's definitely Kaharu, and that means that is Hamaru. What do you want and why are you with those 3? Kaharu asked, glancing at Naruto. Naruto replied, "Hello to you also. You know you should be more respectful in greeting people at the gates. They could be new allies or clients." Hizaru and Sarutobi retorted, "That may be true, but you still haven't answered the question," as Kaharu scowled. Naruto replied, "True, but shouldn't you also give your name before asking for others?" Sarutobi responded, "Only if you are giving proper respect, not when you're entering a village." As Naruto was about to speak, a voice behind him said, "Strange, to think I would make that kind of mistake. Hello Nawaki, Dango, Shoko. Who's your friend?" This caused Naruto to turn and see the Shodaimes Hokage in addition to the Nidaime. Naruto raised his eyebrows and said, "It is an honor to meet you both, Hashiramu and Tobirama Senju. I have heard many great things about both of you. My name is Naruto and I wish to speak with both of you privately. This Genin team was attacked on their mission and their sensei is dead. I have his body and 2 bodies of the Iwa nins that attacked them, but sadly the 3rd got away before I could stop him. There is more to it, but I would request that it be private. These 3 also could use a little rest from what happened as well as from the journey back." As he gazed at both individuals and the 3 Genin looked perplexed. The brother nodded, and Tobirama turned to face him. Hashiramu responded, "Very well, but I want all the questions I asked answered." A ninja suddenly appeared in a shushin, and Naruto shook his head and said, "Sorry about that. I had a bad encounter with someone who looks like him in the past, but that man is dead." He then locked eyes with the person and gave a small growl, drawing everyone's attention. "What do you want, Madara?" Tobirama inquired after surveying the area. Madara Uchiha remarked, "I was patrolling the village and I detected something in the area I thought I would inspect, though I do not know what it was." When Naruto noticed that Hashiramu was observing him, he remarked, "I think it has something to do with our young friend here." Though everyone stared at him, Naruto thought quickly and said, "Perhaps it is my bloodline." "According to Madara, you have a bloodline?" Naruto replied, "Yes, but I rather wait to speak with the Hokage privately about what it does because I am the first in my family to have it as far as I know, but some people claim it has a unique feel to it." "Well, let's get to my office and we can talk there." Naruto was it, Hashiramu said as Madara narrowed his eyes. Both brothers give Naruto a look as he nods and starts to enter the village through the gates. Soon after, they arrived at a circular, 1-story building and went inside. A private office was located in the back, and before Naruto could blink, the Raijin was at his neck, holding him to the wall with roots. "Now talk, what happened to that team and who are you?" Tobimera asked. Naruto sighed and said, "You have no need to restrain me. I do not wish to cause any trouble. I was on my way to Konoha when I felt a chakra spike and I went to investigate and discovered 3 Iwa nins with the sensei to those 3 already dead and they were preparing to finish them off when I saved them. I took out 2 of them but the third one targeted the kids and I had to save them giving him a chance to escape. After he was gone I got the kids to follow my orders by using a Konoha Hiid to make them believe I was a ninja of your village to look around the area for anything suspicious while I sealed up the bodies since they were shaken up. They found a scroll that was supposed to be found with their bodies from the Tsuchikage to Yu Hokage-sama. I admit I read the scroll but did not inform the genin about it so they won't be scared even more. Apparently he wanted to send a message that Iwa wants Konoha to pay a tribute to them or they are going to kill more Konoha shinobi. The fact your grandson was on the mission does not appear to have been known at the time the scroll was written. I then began to lead them here to ensure their protection and I asked them about their education and I found that it was weak so I gave them a small drill on the way here to help increase their teamwork as well as learning to watch their surroundings while increasing their hand sign speeds and reduce mistakes. Where did you get a Konoha Hiid? Hashirama asked as the 2 men blinked and turned to face him. Naruto stated, it belonged to my father, at least that was what my godfather informed me of when he was training me before he passed away, but I can't be for sure if it actually was or not. The question Hashirama posed was, what is your bloodline? Naruto looked at him and replied, it's not exactly sure if it is a bloodline. I have heightened senses as well as advanced healing and I also have this weird second chakra. Tobirama questioned, what do you mean by second chakra? As both men blinked. Naruto replied, just that my normal chakra is blue but then I got this other chakra that is red. I asked about it as I was growing but everyone would turn away and ignore me. There was a lot of things about me my village would not tell me. For the first 7 years of my life I never even know who my parents were. My village also treated me as a black sheep for some reason. As best as I could tell it was because I was born on October 10th, the day of mourning. But no one ever would tell me what the day of mourning was about. My godfather, when I asked him, would leave me wherever we were and go to a bar and get drunk and go to a brothel for about a week, leaving me to fend for myself. The only thing he ever told me about it was don't go looking into the past, live for the future. After a moment of reflection, Hashirama went to his bookcase, took out a book, turned the pages, and asked, so what's your connection to Kyuubi, Jinchuriki? With a sigh, Naruto closed his eyes and looked down, asking, how did you know? Tobirama replied, too much information and the fact we faced Biju before so we researched them and so when you mentioned red chakra you gave which one away? Naruto said, most of what I said was true to you both. My parent both died the day I was born, the day Kyuubi attacked my village. My mother went into labor and my father delivered me but because of complications my mother passed away. My father was the leader of our village and he used a forbidden jutsu to summon the Shinigami and sealed the Kyuubi into me at the cost of his life. Because he did not go face the Kyuubi at the beginning of the attack and because of me holding it my village for the most part hated me and made my life hell. I was an orphan because no one would adopt me and I lived on the streets from the time I was 4 until 7 when my godfather returned to the village and he took me away to train. The first place we went was a temple. It was there that a ritual was performed on me. I don't remember what it was they did or what happened, but instead of having the full power of the Kyuubi in me I only had half his chakra and I also had the summoning contract for kitsunes. I don't know what happened to the Kyuubi who attacked my village but he was replaced with another kitsune who became the new Kyuubi and as my boss summoned he nothing like the stories of the other Kyuubi I heard about. What was the name of your village? Inquired Hashirama. With haste, Naruto uttered, Otto in Spring Country. After both brothers blinked, Tobirama inquired, where? As Naruto put it, Spring Country, according to Hashirama, I never heard of it. Naruto replied, because it doesn't exist any longer. We were a small country to begin with, only 20 square miles, and Otto was the only village in the country. After my grandfather passed away when I was 13 I returned to it and discovered my country was ruined. There was only one river running through our country and someone poisoned the entire river. It killed the plants, the animals, and the people. When I returned there it was like a ghost town. The bodies were nearly completely decomposed. I went through the village looking for anything to tell me what happened or who did it and all I found was the leader who took over after my father at his desk dead with his journal there on the desk. I read the last entry he put on it and he talked about a group of men who offered my village a choice to join them or pay the price of resistance. They wore black cloaks with red clouds and called themselves Akatsuki. After a moment of confusion, Tobirama uttered, Red Dawn, that's. With wide eyes, Naruto exclaimed, you know them, tell me who they are. Please, where can I find them, please tell me. Tobirama looked at Hashirama and shook his head, saying, they're dead if it's the same people I am thinking about, they were wiped out about 5 years ago. Hashirama replied, the timeline would fit about right. It would mean they probably poisoned themselves with whatever they used to poison his village. Naruto let out a sigh. Then they can rest in peace now since no one can ever disturb their graves and the ones who killed them were brought to justice. Quietly. Hashirama inquired. What do you mean? According to Naruto, after I read the Otokage journal I buried the bodies as best as I could and I looked for all the jutsu scrolls one could find in the village to make myself stronger so I could bring Akatsuki to justice and then I used one of the jutsu my godfather taught me Doden. Nomi Yuma, swamp of the underworld. To bury the village so if Akatsuki ever returned they couldn't rob the village or even find it. Since then I've been living off the land as much as possible to train myself and only go to a village long enough to do a few jobs to get cloths and supplies like that before leaving to train some more. I thought if I could come here where my father was supposed to have been originally from then I could become a ninja here and at least have a place to search for them to bring them to justice so the world could know what they did and decide their punishment. What was your father's name? Inquired Hashirama. Naruto stated, the only name my godfather ever called him was Namikaze. He never told me the first name for him or my mother's first name. Do you know if he had any other family? Naruto? Tobirama asked, blinking. Naruto replied, as far as I know no, like I said, my village for the most part didn't like me for Kyuubi and would not tell me anything if they could keep from it. I was hoping I could pass it off as a bloodline so nobody here would hate me for it. He pulled out the fox necklace and said, it seems mine isn't as rare as I thought it was. Do you know what this is? Hashirama approached Naruto and said, interesting. Naruto replied, yeah, it's a focusing crystal that helps me to control the chakra of the Kyuubi that is inside of me. I have already absorbed 3 taels worth but I am having trouble with the last tael and a half. My coils are already huge and since I am already 17 they have started to harden. For example, where did you get it? Hashirama asked. Naruto replied, I got it at the temple I was taken to by my godfather. I don't know where it was besides it was on an island about 2 weeks out to sea. Most likely one of the lost temples of Inari, so since you have no need for revenge, Hashirama said, nodding. Swiftly. Justice, not revenge. Revenge is when you want to get even with a person who has wronged you. Justice is bringing those who have done wrong to be judged for their crimes. I was never an avenger. Facing away from Naruto, Hashirama grinned slightly and remarked, well now that your need for justice is over, what do you plan? After a brief period of silence, Naruto remarked, that depends on you. As Tobirama put it, what do you mean? Naruto replied, I mean are you going to tell everyone about me being a Jinchuriki? I've had my share of fear and hatred for something I never did. I don't want to face that again if I can keep from it. Hashirama replied, no I don't see any reason to. I know that if word got out about an actual Jinchuriki that the other villages will try to use the Biju they have to make one themselves. Naruto replied, not a smart move on your part then when war is coming huh? Glancing at him, Hashirama questioned, war, what war? His expression was deadpan. The one your grandson almost died to help fund. Why do you think he is trying to make you give them a tribute? I can tell you from what I saw a war is coming. The other countries are storing more resources than they usually do and are increasing their training while pressuring smaller villages to pay for their protection or doing raids. It's like they're waiting on a flashpoint to start at something that will start what could be a great shinobi war. After scowling, Hashirama remarked, so you have seen this with your own eyes? Naruto replied, a little. Like I said I tried to stay out of the way as much as possible the last few years to get stronger but yeah, I seen enough to know what's going on. According to Tobirama, so the intel is right. Hashirama replied, yeah, we need to start preparing ourselves. So what about you Naruto, what are your plans? Naruto replied, well I sort of told that team I would be their sensei until you said otherwise. I mean they only know 1 chakra control exercise and 1 elemental jutsu and they don't even know the basic 3. If that is the standard of genin I hope there is a surplus of body bags because they're all dead. I've fought bandits with more training than that. After a brief scowl, Hashirama inquired, how good are you? As the roots holding him to the wall uncoiled and he dissolved into sand, Naruto uttered, at least high chunin to low junin, though I think I am actually higher than that. I usually tried to keep from situations where word about me would draw attention to me. A puff of smoke echoed across the room, and a plant in the corner transformed into Naruto. According to Tobirama, so you never were trapped? Naruto replied, give me some credit. I walk into the village where there are 2 bloodlines who could detect the Kyuubi chakra with the grandson of the cage like it was nothing. I knew the moment you appeared behind me talking about a mistake that I would either have at least an interrogation and at worst have to fight my way out of the village. By the way, the security around the village sucks. The 3 patrol teams you got outside of the village are moving in a Sharingan pinwheel pattern with teams of 2 who can't even suppress their own chakra or know the definition of stealth. After grinning, Hashirama remarked, and yet you chose to come into the village knowing all that. Naruto stated, I may have been an idiot when I was younger, but after seeing everything precious to you dead, you grow up real quick. I may have been hated in my village, but I did have people I care for deeply and would die for. If I would have made a run for it, then you would have had every ninja in the village after me. Would have interrogated those 3 kids and found out about my summon, and then I would have had a page in the bingo book that would make the rest of my life hell. The only option I had to ever have a chance for a new life was to come in and either tell the truth or... Hashirama replied, or try to give a half-truth, hoping that we never found out. All information about you being a Jinchuriki will remain a secret between the 3 of us, Hashirama said after Naruto nodded. According to Naruto, not even Sarutobi will know. Both of them were staring at each other, and Naruto replied, information is power, and I heard that you both been grooming him to be the Sandame later for years, but I also heard someone named Danzo was wanting the position as well, but Sarutobi will get it eventually. Hashirama glanced at Naruto for a moment and, you have good information. No, Sarutobi will not find out about it. It will be listed as a possible new bloodline, but please refrain from using the actual chakra as much as possible. Hopefully you can absorb the last tail of power and not have to worry about it now. As for your history, if asked, I will have to tell that you are from Spring Country before it was destroyed by a natural disaster, but I will not tell anything else about it. As Naruto put it, well, what about a job? Hashirama laughed and replied, alright, I will accept you as a ninja, but I cannot claim your rank on your word alone. We will have to test you. Naruto replied, that's fine. If I am going to be given an honest chance here and not be treated as a demon or weapon, then I will show that I am worthy of the trust you are giving me, and I will make Konoha and its people my new precious people and protect it with everything I have, because only when you are protecting what is precious to you will you find true strength. His voice was full of conviction. Tobirama replied, I be damn. The boy is a poster child for the will of fire. Hashirama replied, very, did you hear about that in your information as well? Naruto replied, no, a missing nin told me that when he befriended me when I was younger, he later sacrificed himself to save his master after their employer double-crossed them. That is one of 3 nindos I have lived by. The other 2 are those who don't follow the rules or trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash, and the last one is I never go back on my word. Hashirama replied, those are some very good nindo to live by. Now, if you don't mind, may I have those scrolls you told me about earlier? Naruto presents him with the 3 scrolls, and Hashirama, brother, take him to the guest house on our land and have someone bring him some food tomorrow. We will test you on your skills, and if you are as good as you claim, I will allow you to take over training team 2. Is that the team I brought in? Inquired Naruto. When Hashirama replied, yes, Naruto nodded and grinned slightly before following Tobirama out of the office. Hashirama reflected, that boy is different, but even if he wasn't telling the whole truth, I can't tell he means any harm. I wonder if he is related to him though. Can you tell me anything about who I might be facing tomorrow? Asked Naruto, who was following Tobirama. As he smiled and nodded to a few people walking down the street, Tobirama said, I don't know yet, you will have to wait until tomorrow. So now that we are away from your brother, what do you honestly think of me? Naruto asks, nodding as he notices several women glancing up and down at him. Tobirama replied, I don't trust you. I won't until you prove that you can be trusted. It's not because of your bloodline either, it's just the timing and your appearance to save my grandnephew is a little too convenient. Naruto replied, I see. Can you tell me a little about this village? I mean, where can I get supplies and how do I go about getting a place for myself? Tobirama stated, we will worry about that after your evaluation tomorrow. For now you are to stay at the house that we are letting you use. Consider it house arrest for now. Naruto laughs and replies, fine, but you will see that I am not as bad as you're afraid of. Hell, you might even someday call me a friend. After giving him a quick glance, Tobirama remarked, we will have to see about that. Naruto snarled once more and turned to face the roof behind him, saying, hello Uchiha. There, Tobirama turned to see Madara, who remarked, I am impressed you could detect me. Madara's eyes widened for a moment when Naruto said, I am surprised you can actually see me. What do you need, Madara? Tobirama inquired. According to Madara, I just wanted to find out about our guest. Tobirama responded, well, why don't you come by Training Ground 7 tomorrow around 10 a.m. Naruto here has asked to join our village after his country fell to a natural disaster, and so we are going to see what rank he should be. Madara responded, I believe I will, though I hadn't heard of any natural disaster. What country you from? As Naruto put it, Spring Country. With a blink, Madara uttered, I never heard of it. Tobirama replied, really, Hashirama and myself been there before it was destroyed. Pretty place. I was actually saddened to hear about its destruction. I see, Madara said, it is a shame then that I never got to see it. Then I am looking forward to seeing your evaluation tomorrow. Naruto maintained his smirk. I promise you, it will be something you will have to see to believe. Naruto grinned as he mentioned this. Farewell Naruto, I am afraid I didn't catch your family name, Madara said with a scowl. Naruto replied, I didn't give it, I only give it to those who I trust and who trust me. Perhaps someday I might tell you, but I am tired from today's events and Senju-sama here was showing me where I can stay until my evaluation. Tobirama started to lead Naruto away, saying, Right Naruto, follow me, good day Madara. Madara narrowed his eyes after they departed, thinking, I will show you to respect me boy. He turned and asked, What's your problem? After Naruto and Tobirama had left Madara. Naruto stated, Every Uchiha I have ever met have had one thing in common. They all think they are superior to everyone and their thirst for power and revenge is dangerous to themselves and everyone around them. I faced all 5 levels of that cursed bloodline before and I have to say that I prefer a Hyuga over an Uchiha any day, and the Hyuga enslave half their family and I dislike slavery, so you can guess where they rank in my book. Tobirama blinked at something after shaking his head and questioned, 5, but there is only 4 levels to the Sharingan. Naruto replied, You're wrong. There is a 5th level and it comes at almost as big a price as the 4th level. Tobirama paused to inquire, Do you know how the Uchiha get the Magnakyu Sharingan? While glancing at Naruto. Yeah, I do, Naruto said as he put his shirt back down after grabbing it and pulling it up to reveal the wound close to his heart. After taking a quick look around, Tobirama said, Follow me. He then led the way swiftly out into the woods and away from the main street. Following, Naruto said, Okay, this is part of my clan property and no one else will come here, so spill. What do you know about the Sharingan? As they soon arrived at a clearing in the woods. Naruto continued, I know that the only way to activate the damn thing is to put yourself in danger where you honestly expect to die, then you progress up to 3 tomas with facing stronger and faster enemies. The 4th level is obtained by feeling guilt over killing someone precious to you like your best friend, and the 5th level is obtained by... When he stopped talking, Tobirama looked very interested and replied, Yes, what is it? Naruto said, No, I will not tell you that because even here I can't be sure that someone can't hear. The price for it is as bad as the 4th, but with it comes abilities that makes a Biju look weak. I only know of one person who has ever obtained that level of Sharingan, and after he obtained it he slaughtered everyone in his clan and his village except a pair of brothers. He kept them around in case he ever needed to replace the eyes he had. In the end the brothers turned on each other trying to get enough power for revenge, and that scar you saw on my chest was where the younger one tried to gain the Magnakyu to catch up to his brother in strength. In the end the older brother allowed the younger to kill him together me, and the younger brother took out the one who had the 5th level, but the cost was someone I considered a friend giving his life to kill his own great-grandfather. Yeah, he tried to kill me to gain the Magnakyu, but I still considered him my friend, so I asked, please respect my wish to never reveal the secret to the 5th level. Hopefully the Uchiha in this village will not take the same road as the ones I met before. Tobirama replied, You do realize that by taunting Madara you are probably making him your enemy, a very dangerous one. Naruto stated, If what I hear about Madara is right, I fear that he will discover the secret to the 5th level and everyone around him will pay the price for it. With blindness taking over he is going to become dangerous. Blinking, Tobirama said, Blindness, what are you talking about? Naruto stated, Power comes at a price. No matter what, it always comes at a price. Yes, you have to kill your best friend to reach the 4th level, but every time you use either of the special abilities that come with that level, that eye becomes weaker and weaker until darkness is all you see. That is the greatest fear of any dujutsu, is blindness, and the more he uses it the more dangerous he will become, and in the end I fear he will be the one to obtain the 5th. You know more about the Uchiha than anyone outside of my brother and the Uchiha themselves, Tobirama remarked, shaking his head. Naruto replied, Yeah, you have to when you got friends like I had. As he led Naruto away, Tobirama grinned and said, Come on, let's go get you settled in. A bird perched on a nearby branch took off and started to fly away, but a wind blade cut off its head, causing the bird's body to drop to the ground below. As he rose in smoke, a Cage Bunshin approached, examined the bird, and remarked, So, the Raven contract goes back this far, huh? Sorry, but I can't let that info get out. The ground-based bird gradually turned into chakra and vanished, never to be seen again. When Naruto received the memories from the clone, he shook his head and reflected, Good thing I can detect chakra up to a mile thanks to my sage training. Curiosity killed the cat Madara. When they finally reached a small cottage, Tobirama said, This is where you will be staying. Do not leave sight of this cabin and someone will bring you something to eat a little later. The cottage has hot water so you can take a shower and relax if you want. As he entered and surveyed the space, Naruto remarked, Thank you, this will be better than I stayed in a long time. He added, A very long time. He entered the bathroom, unrolled some clothes, and started taking a shower after noticing a small table with 4 chairs, a couch, 2 bedrooms, and a bathtub. He thought, nice place. As he emerged from the restroom, he noticed a woman with brownish black hair and brown eyes staring at him. He put on a pair of sweatpants and said, hello. He could sense a chakra signature approaching. Hello, I am Tuka Senju. My uncle said that you were here and that I should bring you something to eat, the woman said, shaking her head. Naruto replied, pleasure, the name's Naruto. I am sorry for any inconvenience I may have caused. Pointing to the scar close to Naruto's heart, the woman grinned and asked, if I may ask, where did you get that? After examining it thoughtfully, Naruto remarked, someone I once thought of as the closest thing to a brother I ever had did it when he betrayed me and all our friends. Tuka replied, I see. Well, I must be going. Just wash the dishes and place them on the rack when you're done, and I will pick them up tomorrow when I come to get breakfast. I want to tell you one thing though. Thank you for saving my son today. After blinking repeatedly, Naruto uttered the words, your Nawaki mother. Tuka replied, yes, though it's hard to tell it since his hair is a lot lighter than my own. Must have gotten it from his father, Naruto remarked. Actually no, his father is almost the same shade of hair that I have, Tuka said with a sorrowful smile. Ah, I see. Are you a Senju by blood or marriage, if I may ask? Said Naruto, blinking. Why? Tuka inquired. Naruto replied, well, I have met several clans in my travel and some have customs that and beliefs that I find distasteful, and I was wondering if the Senju clan was like the Hyuga clan or... Tuka responded, ah, so you're trying to be polite and ask if we inbreed. According to Naruto, yeah, Tuka replied, no we don't, and I'm married into the clan. If you would like I could give you a little history on our clan to help you out. Naruto replied, I would like that if you don't mind. I've had a bad habit of stepping on toes and pissing off clans before by not knowing their history and beliefs or not caring depending on what the situation was. As Tuka put it, really, how many? After giving it some thought, Naruto said, 49. Can you tell me a few? Tuka asked, blinking repeatedly. Naruto stated, Hyuga, Uchiha, Gama, Inazuka, Fuma, Kamizuru to name a few. Tuka sat down and looked interested, asking, what did you do to piss them off? Naruto sat down also on the other end of the couch and said, well, I told the Hyuga to take that cage bird seal and shove it up their ass, that you shouldn't treat family as slaves. The Uchiha, let's just say that I have an entire fighting style that makes a Uchiha look like a civilian because they can't copy my jutsu or predict most of my moves, and I have a bad habit of taunting them with those facts. The Gama clan, well, I don't drink very often and most of them consider deals should only be completed while getting drunk. The Inazuka, I learned on accident the best way to beat them is to mess up their sense of smell, and so I always carry a small little bottle in a scroll that has the scent of cat urine and spray it on them whenever I can. The Fuma clan, did you know that it is illegal to see a female of their clan naked if you not their husband? My godfather was a good man, but he was a super pervert, and I accidentally saw a few of their females when I was dragging his ass out of the hot spring when he was peeping on them. And the Kamizuru clan uses bees, and bees don't like loud noises, and I got a few jutsu that make a lot of noise, but most of those were back when I was like 11 or 12 years old, and back then I didn't really care that much about diplomacy and things like that. I can just see a few of those clans would love to get their hands on you, Tuka remarked with a laugh. Naruto stated, if they knew what I looked like they probably would, but the first jutsu I ever created made sure that I could get by without anyone knowing what I look like. With an interested expression, Tuka remarked, really, like a genjutsu? No, said Naruto, it's kinjutsu. Really? Tuka questioned, why is it forbidden? Have you ever seen a man get pregnant? Asked Naruto. After blinking repeatedly, Tuka said, no, that's sort of impossible. With the jutsu I made, it could happen, Naruto stated. Says Tuka. Show me. Following some consideration, Naruto uttered the words, only if you promise not to hit me for using it. Very well, I promise, Tuka said after putting his hands together and getting covered in smoke. Naruto was soon replaced by Shien, who was naked. Tuka gasped as she saw Naruto, got up, and slowly reached for his body. When she touched his breast, he let out a soft erotic moan and said, don't tease, in a seductive female voice. After Tuka jumped back and flushed, Naruto said, as you could tell, it's real, and released the jutsu. Tuka looked at him in shock and said, that's not possible. How? Naruto replied, like I told you, it's real, however there are a few problems with it. One, did you notice that small shock when you touched me? Tuka looks at Naruto and says, that told me that you're wearing a genjutsu and that I am not what I appear to be. That is the only way to know that I am not who I appear to be, is if you yourself are not as you appear to be and are wearing a genjutsu any other time. Unless you see me use it, then you never know." Startled, Tuka said, "Please don't tell anyone about the genjutsu I am wearing." Naruto stated, "Only on two conditions. One is I finish telling you about my jutsu as a sign of trust, and then you tell me why you're wearing a genjutsu, and we both keep it a secret to earn the respect of each other. The brothers are trying to treat me fairly even when they learned of my tragic past, and I wish to earn the respect of your clan." "Is that why you wish to train my son?" inquired Tuka. "One thing that really irritates me is a sensei who fails to properly train his or her team and places them in situations that will result in their death because they lack self-defense skills," Naruto responded. "No, I wish to train Nawaki team because all three of their skills currently suck, and if the rest of the genin of this village are equally trained as they were, then Konoha is going to need a lot of body bags." After attempting to determine whether Naruto was telling the truth or not, Tuka turned to face him and said, "Very well, I agree to your conditions. As I mentioned earlier, there are a few issues. The first is that, unless you have excellent control and strategize how much the person you henge into has, your chakra levels will drop to those of a civilian, and you won't be able to use any ninjutsu or genjutsu. The second issue is that, if you don't know how to release the jutsu, you'll be trapped in it until you die, and possibly even after that. I couldn't figure out how to dispel it, so I spent a whole month at the age of 8 as a 14-year-old girl. When I got my period, I was terrified." After blinking, Tuka finally lost it and started laughing. Naruto replied, "Funny, indeed. Another issue is that everything will change except for the organs that men and women share, which is why I might get pregnant. However, if I am 8 years old, my heart will also change, along with other things. I would physically be 8 years old if I made myself look like I do now, but my organs wouldn't be that age because they would either work themselves too hard, leading to major health issues, or even death. For this reason, I try to make myself appear the same age or younger, but my 17-year-old body cannot be made to resemble my 8-year-old body because my organs will be too large for my small frame and cause me problems, so it must be an adult body." "I see where the problems arise. When you were stuck as a 14-year-old, what happened to you?" Tuka said after giving it some thought. "I was too weak to do much else, so I was in bed most of that month," Naruto remarked. "Fortunately, my godfather looked after me and eventually figured out how to make it go away." As Tuka put it, "Is that it?" "Yes, but as you can see from what I told you, it is actually a kinjutsu," Naruto remarked, "because of the health risks as well as the potential to become almost anyone if you have mastered the art of jutsu. The genjutsu is a special one that all senju women wear," Tuka said after taking a deep breath. "Our clan, like the Fuma clan, keeps our true appearance hidden from everyone except our lovers. It is constructed so that nothing can see through it. The Senju clan takes this action because they don't want their daughters to be pursued by someone solely based on appearance." Naruto replied, "I see," and he thought, "No wonder Tsunade always kept that thing on him. I wonder, if she has that on, then what does she really look like?" When Tuka noticed Naruto thinking, she inquired, "What are you thinking?" "I was mistaken when I initially sensed that genjutsu," Naruto stated. "I believed it was because you were probably afraid of getting old and wanted to look younger than you actually are to avoid looking old." Sweating, Tuka remarked, "I can see how you pissed the rest of those clans off now." Considering that he learned manners, politics, and procedure from a man who spent most of his time snooping on women, getting wasted, and hanging out in brothels, Naruto shrugged and remarked, "I think I do pretty good. It's likely that I would have followed in his footsteps and turned into the next super pervert rather than a pervert basher if I hadn't the convictions I do." Asked Tuka, "Pervert basher?" "Yes," said Naruto. "Come to my match tomorrow, and I'll show you if the opponent is a man." "I got a lot of favors from some of the women in those brothels and hot springs because I had to drag my godfather's ass out of them, and they gave me advice on how to take advantage of men's perverted natures. Actually, I have about 30 jutsu for that reason alone." "I don't know if I should respect you or hit you," Tuka said, shaking her head. Naruto replied, "That's the general reaction I get from women." As Tuka turned to see a red two-tailed fox, she was startled by a voice from the kitchen that said, "Very true, Naruto." "What are you doing here, Sakura-chan?" asked Naruto. "I came to find out how things went," Sakura said. "After what transpired earlier today, I was concerned that you might have encountered some difficulties." Naruto replied, "Well, the brothers know about what my father did the day I was born, and I told them about my home village of Oto in Spring Country and how it was destroyed by Akatsuki." Sakura replied, "I see. Hello, miss. I am Sakura, one of Naruto's summons." Tuka replied, "Tuka Senju, and Naruto here was just telling me about his pervert bashing skills. Yes, I used to knock him upside down for them because it could be interpreted as disrespectful to women, But I have to admit that they work and they actually helped him save a couple of women who were captured by slave traders. Sakura said with a laugh, particularly when he let himself be taken advantage of them in order to free those girls from the camp and return them to their families. Looking at him, Tuka remarked, I see he's not what I was expecting when I came here today. Sakura stated, when we were younger he was known as the #1 hyperactive surprise ninja. Naruto stated, I was also known as the prank master from hell, but nobody ever remembers that. Sakura responded, please, I think people were still trying to get paint of the mountain after you graffitied it 5 years later. So how long have you known each other? Tuka asked, laughing. We're family, Sakura declared. Since we were young, we have known one another. I can't recall how many times he saved my life. Says Naruto. And you saved mine also, Sakura replied, yeah, you need a medic watching your back 24/7. Sakura and Tuka laughed when Naruto said, why you? Sakura replied, so are you joining the village here or what? To find out if I am as good as I say, I am going to be evaluated tomorrow. Naruto stated, I told them that I was low in Junin and high in Chunin. If so, I'll assume the role of sensei for Team 2, which was the group I previously rescued. So you're going to be a sensei for sure, huh? Sakura said, giving him a sardonic glance. According to Naruto, most likely. Are you that sure of your skills, Naruto? Tuka inquired. Both Sakura and Naruto turned to face her with deadpan looks, and Sakura responded, yeah, you can tie both his arms and legs together, cut off half his chakra, and blindfold him and he will still beat whoever ass he faces. Then I will see tomorrow, Tuka said. Raising an eyebrow she said, good night, Sakura. Naruto, I have to go finish up at the house before I go to bed. Naruto questioned, so why are you really here, after she had left? Sakura paused and remarked, I thought you might have to lie to get into the village, so we would need to know what you told them if you ever called us so we don't cause you problems later. I also came to see how you were doing. I'm concerned about you. Thank you, Sakura. So you and Haku, huh? Naruto said with a smile. Yes, Sakura said, I understand why he had such an impact on you. I only wish I had met him when we were in Wave because we both enjoy healing. Naruto stated, I still think he looks like a girl sometimes. Shallow, Sakura uttered, no, he's not a girl. After glancing at her, Naruto inquired, so any little kits on the way? Sakura blushed even more as she said, none of your business. It's funny when you can see red on a fox's cheeks. As he concluded, Naruto said, but I am a little tired, between getting the contract, fighting those nins, and then talking to the brothers, and I still need to eat and I have to fight someone tomorrow to prepare for. He also laughed and said, relax, Sakura, I was just teasing. As she rose into the smoke, Sakura said, all right, take care. As he ate and cleaned up the dishes, Naruto let out a sigh before turning in for the night. Upon returning to the land of Inari, Sakura noticed that everyone was staring at her. She said, he's okay now, and recounted the story Naruto had told after it was finished. Lee remarked, even I would be fooled by that story. Sakura replied, because it's mostly true with only a few important details changed. While Tuka was doing the dishes back in Konoha, 16-year-old Tsunade entered the kitchen and said, hi mom, how was your day? Tuka replied, oh, it was very eventful. Did you hear about your brother? No, Tsunade interrupted, what about him? She appeared intrigued. We had a mission recovering some cows that were stolen by some bandits for a farmer. Tuka stated, his team was attacked today by Iwa Nins and his sensei was killed. Is he alright? Tsunade asked, gasping. Grinning, Tuka remarked, yes, thanks to Naruto. Tsunade asked, blinking, who? Tuka replied, he's this very nice-looking young man who saved Nawaki and both his teammates and brought them back to Konoha, and after talking with your grandfather and granduncle is going to join the village. Mom, please don't start talking about nice young men, it just sounds so wrong coming from you. You're so old, Tsunade said, turning to face her mother. Tsunade Senju, don't you dare call your mother old, lil girl, yelled Tuka. I'll spank you while bending you over my knee. Well, go check on your brother, and leftovers are in the fridge also. When you wake up in the morning, I need you to go to the guest cabin and get the dishes there for me, Tuka said after Tsunade laughed at her mother's expense. Why are there dishes at the guest cabin? Tsunade blinked. Tuka replied, because we have a guest. Now go on and get. I want to finish these dishes so I can go to bed. Tsunade nods, ascends the second-story stairs, and approaches her brother's room. When she knocked, Nawaki's voice called out, come in. Hey Squirt, Tsunade said as she opened the door, heard you had an exciting day. Nawaki replied, yeah, Okim-sensei died and Shoko nearly died, but then Naruto-sensei showed up and saved her, and then when those Iwa nins attacked him he actually ran down the body of an earth dragon and killed 2 Iwa nins, and then he saved us, and then he began to train us because he was thrilled about what Naruto had them accomplish. Sounds like this Naruto guy impressed you, huh? Tsunade remarked. Nawaki replied, and he's so cool and powerful and he's only 17. Tsunade remarked, well, I will have to meet him sometime. After noticing her brother's excitement, I'm glad you're okay. But I'm sorry to hear about your sensei, you need to get some rest, brother. Nawaki inquired, hey sis, what is the basic 3? According to Tsunade, I don't know why, Nawaki replied, well Naruto-sensei was really upset when he asked us what we know and we told him, and he asked if we knew the basic 3, and when we said no he got upset. Tsunade responded, well ask him what he was upset about when you see him. According to Nawaki, I think I will. Tsunade kissed his head and said, good night, brother. Nawaki turned off his light and lay down, saying, good night sis. As she grabbed a bite to eat, Tsunade wondered, I wonder what this new guy is like to make such an impression on Mom and Nawaki. When Tsunade knocked on the cabin door the following morning, no one answered. She knocked again, and after a little more waiting, she opened the door and went inside. She noticed that the dishes were waiting for her, so she grabbed them and began to leave, thinking, I wonder where this guest is. She shrugs and looks around as she leaves the cabin before returning home to finish the dishes. Naruto, who was on the cabin's roof, watched her leave as he gazed at her with red, crimson eyes that gradually turned back to blue, thinking, so that's what she really looks like. Ero Sanin was completely mistaken. She does not have a flat chest. After I returned to Konoha, she became as well known as Sakura-chan. After that, he descends from the roof, sits on a stump, assumes the lotus position, and starts to meditate. Tobirama shows up about an hour later and asks, where were you this morning? Naruto remarked, sitting on the roof, looking out over the forest at the sunrise. The blonde girl was who? She seemed rushed, so I didn't bother her even though I was considering talking to her. All right, what was she wearing when she came here then? Tobirama asked, glancing at him. Naruto replied, a pair of black shorts with a tanish white shirt, black ninja sandals and a chunin vest. All right, said Tobirama, that was my great niece Tsunade. So that we can complete this assessment, follow me now. After getting up and starting to follow him, Naruto arrived at Training Ground 7, at which point he thought, I wonder if this is just some huge joke by Kami on me. The missing memorial stone and a few extra trees were the most noticeable differences between now and when he was a genin. Naruto said, so this is where the test will be then? Yes, Tobirama replied, but that will take around 20 minutes since your opponent is already familiar with the field. I brought you early so you could have a look. After nodding, Naruto started to move across the field when he noticed Tuka and Hashirama had arrived. As they approached, Hashirama remarked, I understand you already met my daughter-in-law Tuka. Naruto replied, yes, it was an honor to talk with her and I wish to thank you for giving me a chance to prove myself to you. At that moment, 10 Shushin arrived, and Naruto noticed that Madara Uchiha and 9 other Uchiha family members had also arrived. To what do we owe the pleasure of your visit, Madara? Inquired Hashirama. Madara stated, I came to see the evaluation of this young man and was invited by Tobirama, and I thought it would be a good idea to allow some of my clan to see him and understand his style should we ever be teamed up together. As he watched Naruto smirk and cut his eyes at Madara, Hashirama remarked, very well. After arriving a short while later with Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru, Hiruzen Sarutobi asked, to what do we owe the pleasure of your visit, Hashirama-sensei and Tobirama-sensei? He turned to face Naruto, who was staring at him and his group. Hashirama stated, in order to determine what rank to assign this young man, I must assess his level of skill. He will be joining our village if his abilities live up to his claims. And you wish to have someone from my team to test him? Sarutobi asked, nodding. Hashirama replied, no, I want all 3 of your students to test him as well as to let me evaluate their skills to see if they are really ready for that mission. Sarutobi replied, very well, I am Hiruzen Sarutobi and this is my team, Jiraiya Oil, Orochimaru, and Tsunade Senju. Greetings, the name's Naruto. Naruto said. Tsunade inquired, do you have a family name? Officially, I was only ever given my first name growing up. I was told both of my parents' family names, but I was never given their first names. Naruto stated. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is the unofficial name. When Madara, Tobirama, and Hashirama heard the name Uzumaki, their eyes widened, and Hashirama exclaimed, you're an Uzumaki. I told you about my past and because of it I never went by my father's name. Why? Naruto said, blinking. While everyone appeared perplexed, Tobirama and those three stated, "The Uzumaki family is the royal family or whirlpool country." "I don't know, might explain why my godfather never told me my mother's or father's first names." Naruto shrugged. "One of them was the village leader until he passed away, and everyone called him by his title. My mother, if she was related to them, must have left for some reason. In either case, I don't care. I never survive on other people's names. I demonstrate my worth by my own deeds." Madara responded, "Before we begin, Namikaze, may I ask what elemental affinities do you have?" After glancing at him, Naruto questioned, "Why?" Madara replied, "Like the Senju brothers, I have had dealings with the Uzumaki clan before and I know a little about them, and I wish to see if you might really be related to them." "If you don't mind, Naruto, I would like to know that as well," Hashirama said as Naruto turned to face him. Naruto replied, "Those that I can do or those that I have mastered." "What's the difference?" inquired Jiraiya. According to Naruto, with enough hard work you can use an element even if you don't have an affinity for it, but to be able to use it at its full strength is mastering it. Sarutobi replied, "That is very true, but just tell us which elements you can use since this is an evaluation of your skills." With a shrug, Naruto stated, "I have two secondary elements, Suiden and Doten, which I am almost proficient in, as well as some Hyouten, Sabaku, and Mokuton. My primary element is Futon, which I have fully mastered so far. The last three are each only one jutsu, although I doubt I can. I'm attempting to increase them to the point where I can master them." With everyone staring at him with wide eyes, Sarutobi remarked, "That is 6 elements you can use." Naruto sighed and continued, "I busted my ass up to get those skills to the level 1 amit, and as for the last, I ran into someone who had bloodlines for 2 of them in my travel, and they showed me enough to figure out how to imitate them, and I heard about the Shodaimes ability with Mokuton, and I experimented with a few things and learned a small jutsu that works, but it takes a lot of concentration for me to do it." Madara stated, "I am even more interested in seeing his evaluation now more than ever." "Very well, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Naruto," Hashirama remarked, "when I say start, all 4 of you are to move to the middle of the field, where you will engage in combat with Team 7 against Naruto. Death blows and permanent injuries are prohibited, but everything else is acceptable. You'll keep fighting until I tell you to give up or someone wins." "This will be simple," Jiraiya said. "There are 3 of us and only one of him, regardless of how good he claims to be," he said as he made his way to the center of the field. As he watched Tsunade and Orochimaru side with Jiraiya, Naruto remarked, "If I had a penny every time I faced an enemy who outnumbered me and said those words, I would be the richest man in the world." When Naruto saw all of the Uchiha activate their Sharingan, he snapped his neck from side to side and remarked, "Ready when you are." Everyone but the 4 went into the trees to avoid the fighting, and Hashirama said, "Begin." There were 4 Naruto when 3 puffs of smoke appeared, and 3 of them fled into the woods, avoiding Team 7. As everyone squinted, Naruto leapt back onto the river behind him and started making one-handed gestures, raising a number of eyebrows. Jiraiya yelled, "Oh no, you don't," and charged at Naruto, causing the field to fill with mist as he said, "Kirigakure no Jutsu." Orochimaru and Tsunade both swore as Jiraiya charged, covering the field as he ran toward them. Orochimaru threw a kunai at the ground in front of Jiraiya, who screamed, "What the hell, Teme?" Orochimaru responded, "If you're really Jiraiya and not a henge, then tell us something only we would know." "Come on, flat chest. You know it's me. Look, you want to know something that only we would know. I was the one tied to the log," Jiraiya said, turning to face Tsunade, who was staring at him. Tsunade had already acted and threw a senbon at the second Jiraiya, who instantly ran up and yelled, "Don't listen to him, he's a fake." The second Jiraiya hit him in the arm, causing him to scream in agony. The first Jiraiya charged Tsunade at that precise moment, and before she could react, he walked by her and gave her a slap on the back. She fell to the ground as he vanished into the fog. "What the hell did you just do to me?" she screamed when she realized who had just attacked her. "Simply put, after I tricked you into attacking your own teammate, I hit a pressure point in your back where your legs won't work until it is healed, effectively neutralizing you," Naruto said, his voice emerging from the mist. "You don't have any more weapons to attack me with either, unless you steal them from your teammate, in which case your effectiveness as a distraction is reduced by half. I also took your weapon pouch as I was passing you." Screaming, Tsunade said, "Damn you! How did you know enough to pass for me, and what was the jutsu you used to do it?" Jiraiya, who was holding his arm, asked Tsunade as he stood over her. "It wasn't a henge," he said, glancing around the haze in an attempt to see. "Did you know that yesterday I saved the lives of 3 genin after their instructor was killed?" said Naruto, whose voice could still be heard everywhere. "I spoke with all 3 of them on the way back here and inquired about their backgrounds, training, and families. They believed that they had not provided me with any useful information, and in reality, they had not provided me with anything more than common knowledge, but they did provide me with some information that was. The first was the bell test, which their team took to determine whether they were prepared to be genin. I told them I was aware of the bell test, which I actually was because I had received it from my godfather before I did. But the truth they told me was that one of them was tied up after failing the first section. Nawaki informed me that he was the one who was bound up since he was the one who initially attacked their sensei. When I asked which one it was every time I heard about the bell test over the years, I realized that the person who was tied up was always the one who attacked the group. I gambled that your team would take this test as well, and I used my revelation to let your teammates down. Tsunade replied, that still doesn't explain how you knew what Jiraiya called me all the time. Naruto replied, that is because he calls you it so much everyone in the village knows it. And so when Nawaki was talking about how cool his big sister was, Dango mentioned that her teammate Jiraiya always gets punched when he calls her flat chest. So again I took the info I received and used it against you. Everyone was listening outside the mist, and Tuka thought, I will have to talk to Nawaki about giving out information to strangers, even if he didn't realize the info he gave was valuable. As the mist began to clear and everyone could see the figure of Orochimaru melt, Naruto's voice said, now Orochimaru, if your mud clone is done trying to fool me, you can come out of that hole you in. Then, as everyone looked, Jiraiya's eyes widened as another figure appeared. Anko swayed her hips and said, oh Jiraiya-kun, I was wondering, could you help me with my coat here? It seems to have trouble closing. She flashed enough breasts to make him blow back with a nosebleed, and several men in the area also got nosebleeds. When Anko vanished into the smoke, Naruto, who was leaning against a tree with his arms folded, exclaimed, and so the pervert goes down. Sensual seduction tease no jutsu a success. Tsunade growled as she said, and I take it my brother team told you about Jiraiya being a pervert as well. Both women glared at Jiraiya, who was still unconscious but smiling, when Naruto said, actually no, Jiraiya told me he was when I saw him checking out your mom's breast and your ass. A wall of sand rose up and blocked the tag as Orochimaru bounded out of the ground with a kunai that had an exploding tag on it. A hand formed out of the sand and threw it back at Naruto, only to explode halfway back. Orochimaru inquired, how did you? Naruto stated, I can create a personal wall of defense to prevent attacks from reaching me by combining my Doton and Futon chakras and charging the sand in a small tube I carry with me that is charged with my chakra. I can then use chakra control to make it mold into what I want, but it takes almost all of my concentration to do so, which is why I was standing here doing nothing but talking. I thought, thank you Gaara for explaining in detail how Shukaku chakra did that, and all I had to do was mold nature chakra to do the same thing. That was the only sand jutsu I could perform, and it only partially resembles the actual jutsu I am imitating, but it does stop projectile weapons. He uses one-hand signs first, followed by the hidden mist jutsu, and then chakra control manipulation with two elements, Madara thought. Frowning, he seems to know how to prevent me from using his jutsu. Orochimaru replied, I see. Tell me, what was up with those cage bunshin you created earlier? A precaution, said Naruto with a sly smile. You haven't yet made me use it, but it was something I could do and would only use in specific situations. With a series of hand signals, Orochimaru said, then I will have to change that. Still motionless, Naruto watched Orochimaru complete his hand signals as he was about to slam his hands into the ground. A fist erupted from the ground, striking him squarely in the face and knocking him unconscious. A second Naruto exploded from the earth and rose into the smoke, saying, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and I believe that is the end of the match. Orochimaru and Jiraiya are both passed out and Tsunade is unable to move. With a leap to his feet, Hashirama uttered, I agree. The match is over and I have to say I am impressed, but I can't say for sure you are a Junin level. Then maybe one more opponent would do. Madara said I want to put him to the test myself. That seemed to surprise everyone, with the exception of Naruto and Tobirama, who remarked, so he got your attention, huh Madara? Look Madara, I don't think that, Hashirama said. I accept Senju-sama. Naruto declared the three people I fought earlier were a strong team, and they would have typically put up a fierce fight that an enemy would have probably won, but I knew their weaknesses and took advantage of them. Now that Madara has never faced me or him, I would like to see how I stack up against one of the two strongest men in the Fire Country. Even though I may know a lot about his clan if at all possible, sir, I would also like to make this exam a submission match or a knockout. Madara questioned, why would you so foolishly want to remove the safety restrictions? As everyone's eyes widened. Because when I fought the three earlier I could not use my real style because I needed to show I had the brains for a Junin, Naruto said as he watched Jiraiya wake up. and Sarutobi woke Orochimaru up and helped Tsunade out of the ring to safety. I showed that I felt, but I don't think I had the chance to show my true abilities. I proved that heaven was powerful, but now I have to prove that earth is powerful too, and only someone of your caliber would push me that far." After giving Naruto a quick glance, Madara said, "So be it, accept his stipulations, Senju." After glancing at Naruto, Hashirama remarked, "Very well, but remember, no fatality." "Ready when you are, Madara." Naruto nods, tossing his cloak to the ground as a tiny cloud of smoke rises from it. According to Madara, "Weights, huh?" Naruto replied, "Only 100 pounds, just enough to keep my cloak from making noise when I move." When Naruto adopted a style that caused Madara's eyes to widen, he said, "I recognize that style, but I doubt you can use it effectively, boy. After all, you don't have the bloodline for it." Madara had adopted the Uchiha Interceptor style. Naruto replied, "True, but the Gentle Fist style does have one advantage though to start our match off with." "Begin," Hashirama said. Madara inquired, "And what was that?" With his cheeks flushed, Naruto grinned and remarked, "It gave me the time for my last Kage Bunshin that was hidden in the ground to send a message to the 3 I made during the last match that I will be using what they have prepared." Chakra started to rise off his body, first as blue and then as silver. "So Madara, you recognize it also." "You were right, Naruto. Besides myself, Madara is the only one who could make you go all out," Hashirama thought, gasping as he felt what Naruto was doing and thinking, "He's pulling chakra from nature itself. Just how strong are you, Naruto?" His gaze was fixed on Madara, who was still recovering from his shock. Tsunade questioned, "What is that?" From the sidelines. Hashirama stated, "It has many names, but no matter what it is called, it all is exactly the same thing, nature chakra. I personally prefer the name Sage," Naruto remarked. Madara continued, "But it comes at a heavy price, boy. You may have unlimited chakra for as long as you can hold the technique, but you can't move or the chakra begins to absorb you." Even Hashirama is forced to stand still when he uses it. As he vanished from sight, Naruto remarked, "Normally you would be correct, except I found a way around it." Madara lifted his arm, blocked Naruto's kick, and then vanished once more. He then threw an elbow at the back of Madara's head, which vanished as well. Madara flashed through hand signs as he said, "Karyu Enden Fire Dragon Flame Projectile." A long stream of fire was moving toward the ground when Naruto appeared, pulling out a small fan and swatting it while yelling, "Kamaitachi Cutting Whirlwind." The wind, which was made up of blades of wind, ran toward the fire and stalled it while Naruto finished his hand sign and said, "Daitoppa Great Breakthrough." He put his hands to his mouth and blew a huge gust of wind toward the slightly stalled fire, but once it caught the Kamaitachi, they combined, blowing through it, and the wind blades caught fire and flew at Madara, who replaced himself with a log. When Naruto noticed this, he charged at Madara, briefly vanished, then reappeared directly in front of him and kicked him in the air. Subsequently, Naruto flipped, went all four, and charged at Madara, passing him before flipping and landing a heel kick on Madara's head. Madara turned to mud, and then there was a shout of, "Phoenix Fireball Jutsu!" Several balls of fire were flying in Naruto's direction as he started to twist and scream. Kaden. The fireballs struck the Kaden, grabbing and launching them, and the shurikens inside back at Madara, who was hit and went up in smoke. Both Madara and Naruto vanished at that precise moment, and there was the sound of flesh on flesh. After giving his brother a quick glance, Tobirama declared, "He is definitely Junin-level brother." Hashirama replied, "He is above that level, brother. He's fighting Madara toe to toe. Only I have ever done the same thing." Tsunade replied, "But grandfather, it took you years to reach your level. How can you say he is at the same level?" Hashirama explained, "Because he fighting not to see who is stronger, he fighting for a place to call home, a place to be accepted as an equal, and a place that will accept him. Why else risk his very life in a kinjutsu? He willing to sacrifice everything for this." Tuka was wondering, is this what Sakura had meant, that he is willing to put his life at risk just to find peace? The chakra surrounding Naruto briefly flared as the silver chakra left his body, and Madara and Naruto both materialized in the air, knee to knee and fist to fist. As Naruto replaced himself with a shuriken that Madara had previously thrown and was now holding, he saw Madara smirk and throw a punch at his face, only to scream in agony. Silver chakra exploded out of Naruto's body as he appeared on the ground and uttered, "That's one, Madara, ready for round 2. As he charged toward Naruto, both of them started to flash through hand signs, but Naruto was only making one hand sign on each hand. Madara, who had taken the shuriken from his hand, narrowed his eyes and thought, "Something's not right here. How is he able to draw on nature chakra in an instant? That it." Somehow he's using the cage from before to do it, but if I am right, then that means either the first time was him drawing on it or his cage bun shin, so he can do it up to 2 more times. Madara uttered the words, Dai Enden Great Fireball. When a massive fireball struck Naruto, he finished with his right hand and said, Doryu Juheki Earth-style Rampart. The ground he was standing on shot 30 feet into the air as the fireball struck the wall and flames rose up the side a moment later. Naruto finished with his left hand sign, saying, Senpo e sent futon sunabakori hermit art e sent wind element dust cloud. He then leapt into the air, took a deep breath, and breathed the air toward the rock cliff he had created. The wall was completely destroyed by the wind, and the entire area was covered in dust. Naruto said, and now you're blind Madara Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. As hundreds of puffs could be heard then, hundreds of times, Naruto's voice echoed, Uzumaki Naruto Nisan Renden Uzumaki Naruto 2000 hit combo. Suddenly, the sound of flesh hitting flesh could be heard repeatedly, and Madara's voice could be heard screaming in agony. When the sound of flesh hitting flesh finally stopped, many puffs began to sound again, and the wind blew the dust away so that everyone could see the image showed Naruto standing over Madara's body, which was covered in bruising and was completely bleeding. Naruto remarked, he's alive with no permanent injuries, but it's going to take him a couple of weeks to recover, after everyone was shocked to see him in this condition. Weakly, Madara said from the ground, coughing up blood, it's not over yet, boy. Everyone stared at Naruto as if he were insane when he said, I guess not, I concede. Naruto thought, how the hell is he getting back up after that? I hit every pain center in his body and every joint with enough force to need minor medical care? As Madara slowly stood up to everyone's surprise. As he exploded into thousands of crows, Madara yelled, don't play with me boy, it's not over by a long shot. Looking around the clearing, Naruto scowled and said, it's over Madara, I gave up so you won, besides Genjutsu won't work on my now. When he opened his eyes, several people gasped because they were red. After a brief period of silence, Madara's voice uttered, really, you think whatever you done with your eyes can stand up to the power of the Sharingan? As he scanned the clearing, Naruto's eyes widened and he cried out, don't do it Madara, I know what you got planned, and if you try it then you will pay 1,000 times over, don't try it please, I beg you. From the north end of the field, a burst of chakra was sensed, and Hashirama exclaimed, it's over Madara, he gave up. Madara said, it's not over yet, Senju, I will not be given pity and handed a false victory, now boy, face the power of the Sharingan and the Uchiha clan. As he emerged with the initial and heel gates open, Naruto cried out, no dawn, as Madara's eyes transformed into the Magna-Q Sharingan and she uttered the words, Tsukuyomi, God of the Moon technique. The arena went silent as Madara and Naruto stood motionless for a while. Madara then started to scream and grab at his face as blood started to pour from both of his eyes, and Naruto grunted as he fell forward. As they turned to face Madara, who was now on the ground clutching his face while yelling in agony, Uchiha questioned, what's going on? With his head slightly turned and still face down, Naruto's voice reverberated softly across the field. I tried to warn him but he wouldn't listen, it's too late now. In an attempt to stop him from screaming, Tobirama ran over with everyone else except the Uchiha, who were at Madara. What's too late Naruto, what happened? Hashirama inquired. Can someone please roll me over? I won't be able to move anything besides my mouth and eyes for the next 72 hours, Naruto said with a weary grunt. When Tuka rolled him over, his head turned while his body remained motionless, and Hashirama questioned, what happened, Naruto? As his eyes began to slowly close, Naruto uttered the words, Madara Sharingan is destroying itself, I tried to warn him. Saying, Naruto, can you hear me? Tuka touched Naruto's arm. Tobirama replied, he's passed out Tuka, most likely chakra exhaustion and whatever just happened. Everyone's attention was drawn when another Naruto rushed into the field and uttered the word, shit. One of the Uchiha approached and drew back a fist to strike the Naruto clone, but Sarutobi grabbed the fist and remarked, wait, it's just a cage bun shin, if we want answers you can't destroy it. By this point, Madara had been knocked unconscious by Uchiha, and blood was still streaming from his eyes. What happened? You seem to know what is going on, so tell us what you did to Madara, the Uchiha sneered. It's not what I did to him, it's what he did to himself. Did boss try and stop him? The clone snorted. Tuka replied, yeah, his eyes changed red and he said Genjutsu won't work on him, and he then screamed he knew what Madara had planned and don't do it, that he would pay 1,000 times over. Damn it, boss tried to warn him, it's Itachi gift, the clone sighed. Hashirama inquired, who? Oh that's right, You don't know boss told your brother about the other Uchiha he knew before, the clone said, blinking. Tobirama asked, the two brothers and their grandfather, the one with a 5th level Sharingan, and everyone turned to face him. What other Uchiha? There is no 5th level Sharingan, inquired the Uchiha who was standing there. The clone, disregarding the Uchiha, replied, yeah, that's them. Boss told you how the older brother let the younger one kill him so he could kill his grandfather who killed his clan, right? Tobirama nods as the clone replied, well, that's not everything that happened. Before Itachi let Sasuke, his little brother, kill him, he did something to both boss and Sasuke. He sealed the power of the right eye Amaterasu in his brother Sasuke, and he sealed the power of the left eye Tsukuyomi in boss, but he made it where neither can ever control it normally and they would be set off by a certain condition. For Sasuke to fire off the Amaterasu would go off if he ever saw the eternal Magnitude. It will cast Amaterasu and burn the person who holds that eye for 7 days and nights even if Sasuke didn't want it, and for Naruto it goes off whenever Uchiha tries to use Tsukuyomi on him, but instead of pulling both into the Genjutsu it does something different. One of the Uchiha asked, what does it do that is different than the normal Tsukuyomi, and what did it do to my brother, as several of them approached. According to the clone, your Madara brother, yes, I am Izuna Uchiha, now respond to my question, the Uchiha said. The clone said, very well, Itachi wanted to make sure that Sasuke would be the one to avenge the Uchiha clan, so he made it where when Naruto condition is met that his body will freeze for 72 hours, the same amount of time that if he were in the Genjutsu his mind would suffer. Now if you don't know when two Uchiha both use that technique on each other, it would come down to who had the stronger mind would be the one to win, but Itachi made it where instead of who had the stronger mind it would let whoever had the most chakra left. Boss had more since he mostly used Sage Chakra, and so when Madara tried it Itachi gift activated, and instead of being pulled into Tsukuyomi his Sharingan was turned onto itself, making it where both eyes were pulled into Tsukuyomi, and for 72 hours in the Genjutsu they were burned over and over again by Amaterasu is what he saw. What it actually did was cause both eyes to activate until they went completely blind, but his mind feels like they're being burned from him. That way the person the gift was originally supposed to blind would be weakened enough for Sasuke to kill him. Izuna replied, I never heard of either Sasuke or Itachi Uchiha or this eternal Magnitude. The replica replied, what boss was told by the brothers was that their clan separated from your clan sometime during the nomadic years because they had a disagreement with the rest of the clan. There was originally 5 families I think, but they were slaughtered by the brothers' great-grandfather who had discovered the secret of the eternal Sharingan. He left both boys alive so he would have a replacement without being discovered by the clan here. They're all dead now so it doesn't matter. Izuna replied, that boy should have the power he was given sealed off, it's too dangerous, that power belongs to the Uchiha clan. The replica replied, okay. Let me ask you something, do you know how to seal it off? Boss doesn't, and he nearly a Fuinjutsu master. As far as I know the only person who could have undone what was done is Itachi, and he's dead. You say it's dangerous, are you and your clan planning to try and use Tsukuyomi on him? Because the only way it will ever affect any Uchiha is if they try and cast it on him. He could be standing right next to the person you use it on and it won't harm you, but you try and use it on him and bye-bye bloodline. So are you going to be hostile toward a new ally? When Izuna noticed that everyone was staring at him, he responded, of course not, why would we? The replica replied, then there is no reason to seal it off. Besides, wasn't the match over when your brother attacked boss? He sent me a mental command to stop what I was doing, so your clan attacked him outside of spar and training. Isn't that illegal or something in this village, or am I wrong? Izuna looked at him and replied, no, you're right. The match was over and Naruto admitted defeat, but my brother would not hear it. The replica replied, then as payment for that, boss would be willing to accept just dropping the entire matter since he knows Madara didn't want to cause him any harm and he didn't want to cause Madara any harm, and let's work for the betterment of the village instead of trying to start a war or something. He never wanted to harm Madara, he just wanted to test himself against one of the 2 strongest people in the fire country so he would know where he actually was in skill. Yes, that gift was a Uchiha technique, but it was given to him by Uchiha. And boss really don't like it, but he has no choice since he can't remove it. Sorry, Itachi didn't really give boss a choice in accepting it. He stabbed boss to a tree and then gave it to him while he couldn't move. Izuna noticed that the other Uchiha was staring and believed. What should I do now, brother? Everyone expects me to decide what to do since you're injured, and if he's telling the truth then I will have to take over as clan head him. He said, tell me what you know about this eternal Magnitude. In exchange for the information on it I will let this matter drop. Everyone looked at the clone with interest as he said, I only know a little about it. I know that since the Magnitude causes blindness from using it over periods of time, that the eternal Magnitude can restore the sight of Uchiha. The replica said, but it comes at an even heavier price than the Magnitude. where you have to kill your best friend to get the Magna-Q. Causing everyone to gasp except for Izuna, who Fr Tobirama replied. The eternal Magna-Q can only be achieved by a set of brothers where one has to kill their own brother and also do something else, but I don't know what the other thing is. I do know that both brothers have to be completely blind, or at least that is what Tobi bragged about when he taunted Sasuke and me. Izuna responded, how do you know so much about the Magna-Q? I was Sasuke's best friend, and he tried to kill me with an assassination jutsu to get the Magna-Q, but at the last minute he changed his mind and decided he would not follow the ideas of a madman and find his own way to get his revenge. Naruto sighed as he lifted his shirt, and everyone who had not previously seen the scar was wide-eyed. Fortunately for me, a very close friend who was a medic nin was nearby, and Sasuke took my body before I died to her, and she saved me after 16 hours of surgery and a lot of luck. Izuna replied, so it would be possibly to restore Madara eyes if he were to obtain this eternal Magna-Q. Naruto stated, it comes at another price if you somehow figured out the last part of what it takes and he killed you, but then every time he used the Magna-Q he would lose a little of his mind. Insanity is the final price for power that he would have to pay. When Sasuke and I killed Tobi, he was talking like a 4-year-old child who was easily distracted by butterflies that was in the field, birds that were flying away from our battle, and even the clouds in the sky. He still had his fighting skills, but his mind was that of a child in the end. Izuna believed, that is not possible, but he knows so much about the secrets of the Uchiha clan and I can't detect any lies. I can't have that happen to you, brother. I won't let you become insane and weakened. You let your anger get to you for a stupid test. The clan has seen you becoming unstable as of late since you keep claiming the Senju are betraying us, but you always were a sore loser. After I obtained the Magna-Q you automatically had to get it to show you were superior, and slowly we both been going blind, but after we notice I quit using it. I must be strong, brother, and lead the clan as you would want, but in order to do that I will have to kill you. You always said that weakness was not to be tolerated. Forgive me, brother, for what I must do shortly. Izuna turned to everyone there and said, listen to me, everyone. For some time now my brother actions have become questionable. We agreed 20 years ago to a truce between the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan to build a hidden village that our families could grow in peace together in. My brother only agreed because he was defeated by the Shodaimes here, who was then elected to be leader of the village since he was the stronger of the two. That has always left my brother with a secret hatred for this village and the Senju, and he has oftentimes tried to get us to break the deal, though we have refused him time and time again. Today when Naruto defeated him in battle he was reminded of his defeat at the hands of Hashirama, and his hatred got the best of him and he decided to attack Naruto, disgracing himself, the clan and the village. In the past his own laws for our clan stated when someone disgraced the clan they were to be killed for the dishonor. Izuna Uchiha will take over for my brother as the new clan head, as I have been asked to do before, and as my first act one will carry out my brother's punishment as he would have done to any other Uchiha including myself for such an act. Izuna punched the clone in the face, dispelling his statement, no you can't key. He then turned to face Hashirama and stated, this is a private matter that falls under the jurisdiction of the Uchiha clan Hokage-sama. I understand that you held my brother in high regard and were prepared to overlook some of his dubious past behavior, but my brother would not bear the consequences of his actions today. He would ruin the peace that we have fought so hard to attain and could not bear to be blind. For the sake of my clan as well as the village, I cannot permit that. However, I do request that everyone present swear to keep all you have heard about the Magna-Q and the eternal Magna-Q a secret in exchange for the sacrifice I am about to make by killing my brother. The secret to getting these eyes will be destroyed, and I will be the last member of my clan to ever obtain them since our newest ally has shown honorable behavior. My clan also wishes him no harm. Hokage-sama, will you accept my decision on this? Are you sure about this, Izuna? Hashirama inquired. Nodding, Izuna remarked, it is what he would want. Very well, said Hashirama, could I attend his funeral to show my respect? Izuna replied, the Uchiha clan would be honored to have you there. Very well, said Hashirama, I'll let you handle it however you see fit. If Naruto is really going to be immobile for the next 3 days, he will require assistance, so I have to bring him here and get him cared for. Let this be witnessed by all here today and known throughout the village. The Uchiha clan recognize Naruto here as an honorary member of our clan as payment for the crimes that we have done to him in the past. Izuna approached Naruto, looked at him, and then sliced his hand open with a kunai before slicing Naruto and putting their hands together. After he calmed down after seeing the kunai, Hashirama said, so noted. Tuka, Tobirama, could you please assist Tsunade in returning to the house? Until Naruto awakens, I will tend to him myself. Izuna went over to Madara, picked him up, and said, goodbye. Both nod and carry Tsunade back to the house. Before they withdrew, he made eye contact with the other Uchiha in the room and said, "Come." As everyone was heading out, Hashirama approached Naruto, picked him up, and shushed him away as well. A few hours later, Izuna was praying for his brother while sitting by his side at the Uchiha shrine when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest and opened his eyes in shock. Madara remarked, "Do you think I would let you kill me, dear brother?" After noticing his brother's arm cradling a kunai in his chest. "I heard everything that was said today, and I am aware of your plans and actions." As he reached up and pulled out Izuna's eye, he removed his own eye and slowly replaced it, looking at his brother's lifeless form on the ground and using jutsu to reconnect his new eye. "I will not let you kill me, and I will have my revenge on you, the Uchiha clan, and this pathetic village, but first I shall take from you what has been taken from me," he said. As he glanced at a mirror on the wall and saw the new Magna-Q, he thought, "I can see, so that's it, huh? You have to steal your brother's eye and kill him. Boy. I will get my retribution for giving away too much information, and I will not be duped again." He stepped over his brother's body and hurried away, saying, "I'll take this gift, learn how to use it, and then destroy you in this village." At the Uchiha shrine, history was largely being repeated, but at the cabin where Naruto was permitted to spend the previous night, history was not being repeated. "I understand how much you hate to do this, but I can't take the chance any longer," Hashirama said, turning to face his daughter-in-law. What if the attack on Team 2 was a ruse to get him into Konoha and weakness before the war began? What if he has other small gifts that are just waiting for a specific trigger to cause harm or death? Are you prepared to put your life in danger for him, your family, or the security of your village? As she gazed at Tobirama and Hashirama and the unconscious body of Naruto, Tuka sighed and remarked, "Very well, I will use it, but I do not have to like it, but it is your responsibility to deal with the consequences, Hashirama-sama." After nodding, Hashirama declared, "I will take full responsibility." After giving her family one final glance, Tuka closed her eyes, started making hand signals, and touched Naruto's head. As she held her hand on Naruto's head, the other people in the room watched as her eyes darted back and forth. After 10 minutes or so, she gasped as she fell backward and scooted away from Naruto's body, saying, "It can't be," as she gazed at him in disbelief. "At least I know why Tsunade has blonde hair, Yamanaka," Naruto said, his eyes briefly opening as his eyes darted around the room, trying to see what he could. He discovered that he was still immobile. "I had suspected but never knew for sure." Tobirama approached Tuka, who was making mouth movements, and inquired, "What's wrong, Tuka?" With a kunai in hand, Hashirama approached Naruto covertly and asked, "What happened, Tuka?" as he noticed Naruto's emotionless, icy gaze. Tuka got to his feet slowly and questioned, "Was what I saw real? I must know," she said, ignoring the other people in the room and moving to where Naruto could see her. "Yeah, that was my life, you saw every moment of it," Naruto said sadly as his eyes briefly shifted to her and then softened. "The last Yamanaka that came to mind was more forceful than you, at least." "So Tuka, what did you learn and what has spooked you?" asked Tobirama, who was holding the Raijan's hilt. "You won't believe it, I can't believe it, but I saw it all," but Tuka said after glancing at everyone in the room before turning back to Naruto. "Additionally," Naruto said, "and welcome to my world." After growing tired of Naruto, Tobirama approached him, punched him in the face, and uttered the words, "Quite you." When Tuka grabbed Tobirama's arm and said, "Don't do that again, please," Naruto shifted his jaw slightly and spat out a tooth, saying, "Damn it. Those are always the most painful to grow back." "What is it you saw, Tuka?" Hashirama inquired. "You're not being yourself. Did you experience any problems there?" With her eyes closed, Tuka uttered the words, "I'd say I don't know where to start." "Is he a threat to the village?" inquired Tobirama. Tuka replied, "No, he loves Konoha and her people very dearly and only wants to protect it." Hashirama questioned, "But that doesn't make sense. How can he love Konoha that much if he only just arrived?" As Naruto closed his eyes and sighed. "Because he was born here in Konoha, it's his home village." Tuka stated. "It's the village that Akatsuki destroyed and that his friends and family fought and lost their lives to defend." "That's crazy, Tuka. I think he's messed with your head or something," Tobirama said. "Given that we are standing in the village and that Akatsuki was destroyed 5 years ago, how can he have been born in Konoha when we know every person who has ever been born here? Nawaki was supposed to die during that mission. You Hashirama were supposed to be killed by Madara, who would use the Kyuubi to attack you at a valley called the Valley of the End," Tuka said, her eyes glossing briefly as they flickered back and forth. "After pretending to die in that battle, he would flee and exact revenge on the village and his clan." "Why are you talking like you know the future?" Hashirama asked, squinting. Naruto replied, "Because she now knows a possible future had events not been changed." Naruto passed out after Tobirama had had enough and struck a pressure point in his neck. He then turned to face Tuka and Hashirama and remarked, "That's it, this guy is crazy and he messed with you as well, Tuka, drawing you into his fantasy." But it wasn't a fantasy, Tuka stated. "I witnessed events, including Hizuran Sarutobi's funeral after he sacrificed his life to defend the village during an invasion. I witnessed the boy being trained in the arts of Sage Chakra by the Toads, and he defeated a Jinchuriki of the Ichibi no Shukaku who fully unleashed his demon during the same invasion. I witnessed his training by his godfather Jiraiya and me. I witnessed Tsunade's future. I witnessed her blaming the village and that necklace for the deaths of all the people who mattered in her life. I witnessed Akatsuki's attacks on the village, which Madara himself recreated as part of his retaliation. I witnessed his multiple attempts to save Tsunade's life by going toe-to-toe with another Jiraiya student who had the Rinnegan. I witnessed the collapse of the shinobi world. I witnessed the death of the survivors of the war that Madara created. And I witnessed the Kazekage, who was once the Jinchuriki of Shukaku and was brought back to life with a Kenjutsu, using a jutsu on Naruto, sending him to the past where his story started. Going back to a time before Madara used the Kyuubi to kill you and before he took his brother's eyes, killing him and giving him eternal youth from the eternal Magnikyu. I witnessed his father, Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, seal the Kyuubi into Naruto here to save the village. I witnessed how the village largely made his life miserable, but he persevered and gained international recognition as a hero for a variety of reasons. He found a few people who became important to him, and he endured losing everything because of Madara's retaliation. According to Hashirama, so he was planning to attack Madara from the beginning. No, Tuka said, by signing the Kitsune contract himself, he prevented Madara from obtaining it, and you're forgetting that he pleaded with Madara not to use that attack against him. The future has already been altered by that and saving Nawaki's life. He only wanted to fight Madara to see how he was now, not the crazy guy he had battled in the past who attacked and killed his friends using 5 different Biju, or the guy who ultimately had to be restrained by Naruto's friend who had given him that scar so he could kill them both. To be honest, he wanted to see where he was. Hashirama-sama, please don't let your affections for Madara influence your decisions. She was appealing to Hashirama, saying, the boy is not a threat to the village. And what about your feelings for him? Asked Hashirama. How can you be certain that what you witnessed was authentic and not a staged memory when he saved your son's life? You or anybody else could have set this up as a trap because war was imminent. They might have discovered who your birth family was and realized that I would want you to check his mind after he weakened Madara. Listen to yourself honestly. Eternal youth, the Rinnegan, and time travel, everything is too good to be true. But it's all true, Tuka said. I'm prepared to stake my whole life on it, as well as my kids' lives, please. Madara and I may not have agreed in the past, but I know Madara would never kill his own brother just to take his eyes. Hashirama scowled. I have known this boy for more than 50 years, and I cannot put up with the outbursts and delusions he has shown you. Please don't hurt him, Hashirama, Tuka said, casting a downward glance. If you can't believe me or this boy and decide that your faith in Madara is more important than us, then I can no longer follow you, she said, tears streaming down her face. If you must take his life, then take mine too, because I know what I saw is real and what I told you was the truth. You have followed my clan since you were 13, Tuka, when you fell in love with my son. In all that time you have never once given me any reason to doubt you and your loyalty to our clan. Hashirama said, closing his eyes and turning away from her to face the darkness outside the window. I can understand why you would want to repay this boy for saving your son's life, but I cannot accept the story about him being from a future Konoha. I will not have him harmed, but I cannot allow him to stay in Konoha. I'll work with you to reach this compromise. He is free to continue living his life and find a home elsewhere, but not here. Will you still follow me if I do this? After biting her lip and glancing at Naruto's body, Tuka replied, yes. We will never again discuss any of this, Hashirama declared as he glanced at his brother and daughter-in-law. He asked, do you both understand? Both of them nodded. Very well, I will take him away from the village while he can't move and release him at the edge of our border, giving him my orders to never return. Tobirama, you are in charge until I return. Tobirama nods, and Hashirama approaches, picks Naruto up, and places him over his shoulder as he leaves with Naruto in a swirl of leaves. He looks at Tuka, who is still on her knees, and asks, why would you side with this stranger over your own family? What did you see that has upset you so much? After giving Tuka a quick glance, Tobirama said, go home and relax, Tuka. You have done more than enough for him. The boy won't be harmed and he is still free to go as he chooses as long as he does not return here. But what is enough to save your children from themselves, and what is enough for the person who saved their lives? Tuka asked herself. There was a campfire burning a few feet away. When Naruto woke up, he noticed Hashirama sitting nearby in a meditative state. His eyes darted around, and Hashirama said, "I see that you awake." "Yeah," Naruto replied. "Why did you come to Konoha?" Hashirama asked, opening his eyes and glancing at Naruto's. With a sigh, Naruto remarked, "It's my home." "No," said Hashirama, "it's not. Prior to a few days ago, you had never visited Konoha." After a few minutes of silence, Naruto questioned, "What's it like?" With a blink, Hashirama questioned, "What's what like?" "What's it like for you being Hokage?" inquired Naruto. Perplexed, Hashirama questioned, "Why would you want to know that?" After a while, Naruto opened his eyes and said, "When I was still a child, Gigi would tell me stories about you and your brothers. He told me how you first took him as your apprentice shortly after his clan came to Konoha. He told me he was angry about being in the village because some kids would pick on him and call him Monkey Boy and Hairy Beast." Hashirama looked at Naruto with some disbelief. "He told me how you saw as he busted his hands up with anger from punching some new trees that you grew and were setting aside for something special. He told me how when you asked him about why he was doing it, he told you to mind your own business." Hashirama inquired, "This Gigi, was it Hizaran?" "Yes," Naruto replied, "he was the Sandaime Hokage. Dad was the main person in my life. After he sealed the Kyuubi in me, he always found time to take me out for ramen and tell me stories about being Hokage. Even though I lived in an apartment after the orphanage expelled me, I didn't fully comprehend it at the time, but he was my lifeline. He told me that, as Hokage, you valued every person in the village. I can't go back, can I? If it weren't for him, I would have become what Gaara was before I rescued him from his darkness." "No," said Hashirama. When Naruto noticed some stars in the sky, he asked, "Will you kill me?" Assuming that Naruto was requesting retribution for what he had done to Madara, Hashirama responded, "No, I won't." "Please," said Naruto, scowling, "I have nothing here, my home, my friends, my precious people. Everything I know is gone. I've altered history so that those who could have been born won't be hurt by the future," he said, closing his eyes. "You're on an island north of Konoha," Hashirama said, looking away in shock at Naruto's words and thinking, "It's just a trick. Time travel's not possible. He can't be from the future. Deer, rabbits, and a few cows are the only animals on this island. In the middle of the island, there's a lake with fish and a freshwater river. Before Konoha was established, my clan was nomadic and kept a supply of meat on this island. You are free to remain here or go anywhere you like, but don't come back to Konoha in appreciation for saving my grandson. I am giving you this island, but I find it hard to believe that you are from the future and that you are telling the truth about Madara. We've known one another since we were young, so I simply cannot believe your assertions based on my personal experience." Naruto uttered the words, "I understand, so I suppose this is farewell," Hashirama said. "To make this fire, I used a unique wood that I grew myself. All animals will avoid this area for the next 48 hours because it will burn. I have to go back to my clan at home." "Wait," said Naruto. "What is it?" Hashirama asked, turning. "My left vest pocket," Naruto uttered. "A scroll can be found there. Please give it to Nawaki and his group." Blinking, Hashirama questioned, "What is on it?" Naruto stated, "It's what I was planning on teaching them to make sure they don't die. I don't want to see Tsunade turn into the woman I knew in the future, and making sure her brother lives will keep that from happening." Hashirama scowled as he approached, grabbed the scroll, and read it. "Climbing trees to increase your chakra reserves and your ability to control them. You must channel chakra to your feet in order to stick to a tree. If you do this too much, you will blow off, and if you do it too little, you will fall off. Walking in the water, don't try until you can run up and down a tree continuously for an hour." Similar to tree climbing, water walking is a more advanced method of controlling your chakras and building up your reserves. It involves channeling the proper amount of chakra to the bottom of your feet. At too much and you blow off, too little and you fall in. Note: once you are able to perform both of these exercises for an hour straight, begin wearing weights on your arms, legs, and chest. Start with 5 pounds on each arm and leg and 10 pounds on the chest, increasing the weights as you become accustomed to them. Wear them constantly. You are not trying to increase your speed, but try walking without them at least once a week to get used to your increased strength and speed. Note: try adding the leaf floating exercise to both tree climbing and water walking, rather than just the head. As you improve, use your hands, arms, and shoulders. Run 5 laps around the village each day when you are not on missions to build endurance and stamina. Once you can complete 5 laps without stopping, increase the number of laps by 5. Continue doing this until you can complete 25 laps in an hour. Your strength, speed, endurance, chakra reserves, and control will all improve as a result of performing these exercises. Special note: after you learn to water walk as a team for an hour, Start sparring on top of a hot springs water using only taijutsu. This will help you develop your pain tolerance and combat reflexes and will help you stay focused in the event that you lose focus and fall. After reading it over a few times, Hashirama remarked, "You really wanted to train that team, weren't you?" Naruto stated, "Ero Sanin made me undergo the same training when I was a genin in order to get me ready because I had S-rank missing nins pursuing me who would have killed me if they had tried to extract the Kyuubi. All I knew was that I needed to train to fulfill a commitment and defend Konoha after Jiji was killed and Tsunade Bakken assumed the role of Godem." Hashirama asked, "Why do you call people by such disrespectful titles?" After he suddenly saw Tsunade being referred to as an old lady. "Because they were the closest thing to a family I ever had," Naruto said after a brief period of silence. "When I was learning to control the Sage Chakra after Ero Sanin's death, I discovered that he was my godfather. Tsunade Bakken detested looking old, so she covered herself with a genjutsu to conceal her appearance. Unlike the other Senju clan women who keep their appearances a secret from everyone but their lovers, she was truly vain." In a neutral tone, Hashirama inquired, "How do you know about that?" "An accident," said Naruto. "During that test, I demonstrated and explained to Tuka a kinjutsu I had developed and used to defeat Ero Sanin. It has the power to transform me into a woman. When I unintentionally discovered that she was wearing a genjutsu, it was an indication of our mutual trust. She wanted to make sure I didn't tell anyone about it, so I told her about my jutsu as a way to keep a secret. I didn't teach her how to do the kinjutsu, and she didn't release her genjutsu. If you want to punish someone for violating a clan rule or something, then punish me." Hashirama inquired, "Who is Ero Sanin?" As Naruto put it, "Jiraiya." With a frown, Hashirama uttered, "I see." "By the way," Naruto said, "have they received their contracts for summoning yet?" "What are you speaking about?" inquired Hashirama. Naruto was saying, Orochimaru the snake, Jiraiya the toad, and Tsunade the slug. Hashirama scowled and pondered. "Only Sarutobi and I are aware of the nature of that mission, and even we are uncertain about their chances of success or the summons they will discover." Asked, "Why do you want to know?" and said, "It was all rumors to begin with." "Ero Sanin, the prophecy that will be given to him," said Naruto. "I suppose the fulfillment of the prophecy would be my presence here." Hashirama inquired, "And what is the prophecy?" "A boy will stumble upon the mountain of the toads and be given the power of the toads. He will become a pervert without equal and he will observe nature in all its beauty. He will then train a child of prophecy who will either bring peace or destroy the world." Naruto recalled as he closed his eyes, "Which will be determined by a decision Jiraiya makes." "And what are you saying? You're this child of prophecy?" Hashirama scowled. "I didn't understand it when I heard the prophecy myself," snorted Naruto. "In actuality, I didn't fully comprehend the meaning of the prophecy until I signed the Kitsune contract. Jiraiya trained 5 students during his lifetime, including 3 Rain Country orphans who needed self-defense during the Second Great Shinobi War, my father prior to the Third Great Shinobi War, and me prior to the Final Shinobi War. He trained Rain Kids, and one of them had the Rinnegan. I'm not sure how or why, but he somehow rose to prominence as the face of Akatsuki, with Madara acting as the real leader and directing him from the background. I'm not sure what his true name was, but he went by Pain and became a god to the Rain people because he could control the dead's bodies by making small changes to them. He made a decision when Ero Sanin confronted him. He had the option to leave the battle and go back to Konoha to share his findings, but he chose to stay. He decided to stay and fight, and as he was dying, he gave the older toads a clue, which they managed to escape and bring to me, along with one of Pain's altered bodies. After much effort, we finally figured it out, and as a result, we were able to destroy Pain. We wouldn't have had time to figure out how to defeat Jiraiya if he hadn't faced Pain and made the decision that provided us with the information. But Madara had planned for this and had the mist that allowed him to attack all of the island nations while Konoha was under attack. A surprise attack on all the islands at once destroyed Wave, Spring, Sea, and Tea. Konoha was weak at the time, so he used a kinjutsu he had stolen from Orochimaru to bring Pain back to life long enough for the people of Rain to think their so-called god was giving them orders to attack every other nation while donning a Hiat from another nation. After Konoha Hiat attacked Iwa, Suna attacked Kumo Hiat, Kumo attacked Suna Hiat, and Iwa attacked the smaller nations. Everyone attacked everyone, starting a war, and Mist moved in and attacked Konoha first while everyone was preoccupied. I was selected as the Rokudame because I was the strongest person in the village, and Tsunade passed away that day. That day, I killed 400 men, but only about 150 people survived, and Konoha was destroyed. As our best allies, I brought the survivors to Suna. They proceeded to eliminate Waterfall, Star, Vegetable, and Sound after we had stopped Mist that day. They then encountered Rain, merged forces, and attacked Iwa and Kumo before focusing on Suna. It was a 100-day war. Nothing remained unexplored during that period. Every country they attacked had its farms destroyed by Mist, which also collected all of the resources and sent them back to Mist while they went on to the next target. Madara did not believe that Suna could survive as long as we did, nor did she believe that Killer Bee and I would commit suicide, since Rain Country was the Madara forward outpost from which we launched attacks on the other elemental nations. We first leveled at Killer Bee, used the Hachibi's power, and I used the Kyuubi and Sage chakras. When it was all over, the country was reduced to ruins. We then assembled a force of the other countries, who by this point had realized who was really responsible for everything. Under the light of a harvest moon, we gathered together and sent a strike force to Mist itself. With the assistance of the other nations, we advanced from all directions on the island. 50 men were led by each cage as they moved across the nation. Chakra reserves greater than those of a genin were eliminated. By dawn, we had surrounded the lake with the hidden Mist village in the middle, and all the resources had been taken. When the Mist nins started to run across the water, Kumo used lightning jutsu to kill them by striking the water itself. When they attempted to use weapons or long-distance jutsu, Suna used their wind jutsu to block. After demonstrating to them that they were trapped and could not touch us, we gave them the opportunity to surrender. Iwa Nins then ruled down earth jutsu on the village walls. When Madara himself appeared, he freed the biju that Akatsuki had taken while our men charged the village, eliminating as many men as they could. Each cage battled at least one biju in order to memorize the events and record every jutsu he could. Madara sat with his Sharingan on, a bag of popcorn, and a bottle of sake while he laughed. As he provided commentary on the battle, he behaved like a kid in a candy store. Madara made a mistake that no one saw coming, and I was certain that it had killed him, but the bastard had a remarkable ability to live. After Orochimaru was destroyed, his most devoted servant took pieces of Orochimaru's body and grafted them onto his own. With time, they combined to form a new individual who was sick and deranged. I will never forget Madara's expression when all of the dead cages from all of the villages and all of the Akatsuki members that we had destroyed showed up. After you and a few other cage swiftly subdued the biju, Madara was forced to join the battle. We then brought the battle to Madara. The eternal Magna-Q. Madara's power allowed him to eliminate almost everyone. In the end, the person who had scarred my chest used his evolved Sharingan long enough to hold him, and he asked me to kill them both to put an end to the madness. I destroyed them both with my ultimate attack. The actual cost of the war became clear once it was over and we had the resources to return home. We had enough water and food for several months. All Cage revealed to me when Gaara sent me the secret information was that there was no way to produce enough food to save the world's population, and that within a year, starvation would spread throughout the entire planet. I was so preoccupied with my thoughts that I didn't even realize Gaara had a jutsu to send me back, or that he was planning it until he used it. Since Madara will not be receiving the contract for Kyuubi to use against you, history has now changed, and I suppose that since he will pass away, the future will be permanently altered. I already know that some of the people who would have been born now won't be, because their parents were forced to have them because of the Kyuubi attack on Konoha. I suppose the prophecy has come true now that the gloomy future I lived in will never come to pass, he said, grinning sorrowfully as a tear trickled down his cheek. Well, you have heard my warning, do not return to Konoha, Hashirama said, shaking his head. Goodbye, he said, hushed away. With a sigh, Naruto reflected, and so in the end it doesn't matter because I am alone again. Naruto closed his eyes and dozed off after he saw a star streak across the sky. When Hashirama arrived back in the village the following morning, he noticed that something had happened. He turned to face Sarutobi and inquired, "What's up, you old monkey? Why does everyone look upset?" Sarutobi inquired, "You mean you don't know yet, sensei?" As Hashirama put it, "Know what?" After surveying the area, Sarutobi remarked, "Izuna Uchiha's body was discovered in the Uchiha temple this morning. His eyes had been removed, and he had been killed." Hashirama asked, "Who done it?" As she went pale and thought, "No, it can't be." Sarutobi softened his tone and stated, "The Uchiha claim that it was Madara who took his brother's eyes since most of his belongings are gone, including his weapons and other items that were personal for him, as well as his disappearing." After swallowing, Hashirama said, "All right, monkey, I have some things to take care of, but before I go, may I ask you a question?" According to Sarutobi, "Of course, sensei." Hashirama inquired, "Have you ever told anyone about when we first met and what was said that day, or what happened?" With a perplexed expression, Sarutobi said, "Obviously not, that was not one of my better days, and I would never discuss what transpired or why with anyone." "Nothing," Hashirama said, I recently heard a similar story, and I assumed it was someone retelling something they may have heard from you as he headed for the Hokage office. He said, CYA later. After closing the door and observing his brother seated in his chair, he said, so tell me, what exactly has happened while I was away? Tobirama scowled and remarked, a number of Uchiha visited the Uchiha shrine early this morning to start getting Madara's body ready for his funeral. His brother was at the shrine last night, praying for forgiveness for what he was going to do and for his brother's afterlife. We are forced to conclude that Madara killed his brother and took his eyes, leaving the ones that were destroyed yesterday on the ground next to his body before he packed up his belongings and departed. Based on all the evidence regarding the location of the body, the location of his murder, and other facts, there is no other explanation. Hashirama looked at him and said, are we sure that someone didn't sneak into the village and kill Izuna and steal Madara body and belongings to collaborate Naruto's story somehow? Sorry, brother, but it's not possible, Tobirama said, shaking his head. Madara's personal battle fan was taken, and you know that only he can touch that. You can prove it with the scar on your arm. And we both witnessed him giving it to his brother and other Uchiha as a warning not to touch it. Izuna was hurt, and 3 people were killed. Looking worn out, Hashirama sat down and uttered, I can't believe that he would do it. The child was correct, Tobirama said. Every dujutsu has the same weakness, he said. According to what you witnessed and heard from Izuna and his clone yesterday, they are afraid of going blind. Madara took great pride in being the strongest member of his clan, and his loss to you years ago and to Naruto yesterday made him lose it. Do you think I was wrong about banishing him? Hashirama asked, closing his eyes. Brother, I don't know, Tobirama said. I am aware of the harm it has caused to our relationship with Tuka. It simply seems so unfeasible, yet. But a part of you thinks it must be true, Hashirama remarked. He told me about it last night, about his future, about the end of humanity. In addition, he told me about the elderly monkey he refers to as Gigi. He is aware of things that only Monkey and I are aware of, and neither of us has ever discussed them with anyone. He also told me about Team 7 and a mission that Monkey asked me to send them on if they are successful, and what he told me turns out to be true. I will have no choice but to believe everything he said. If it is true, there will be 3 major shinobi wars over the next few years before he was born, followed by the last one due to Madara. What should we do then, brother, if it is true? Tobirama inquired. Naruto handed Tobirama a scroll, which Hashirama threw to him, saying, read that and tell me what you think. When he finished reading it, Tobirama said, this is impressive. I never even thought about a couple of those exercises. I take it is from him. He also whistled softly. Yeah, and that's not all, Hashirama said. I looked in his pockets while he was out and found other scrolls with supplies and weapons, but what really shocked me was that there was a scroll with the Hitaki clan seals on it from someone named Kakashi. It turns out that he was Naruto Junin sensei, and he played favorites to pay back a debt to a fallen friend. In the end, he gave Naruto a scroll that contained all of the jutsu he had ever copied with the Sharingan eye that his fallen friend had given him. It was supposed to be a birthday present, but it was given when Akatsuki attacked the village, and Kakashi died. Since becoming Hokage would require mastering over 1000 jutsu, it was intended to assist Naruto in realizing his goal. There are over 1100 jutsu in various elements on that scroll. That's more jutsu than anyone in the village has, Tobirama remarked, his eyes wide. I know I was tempted to take it, but I couldn't, Hashirama remarked. Something told me that if I did, my actions would destroy the village. Hashirama remarked, I have no choice now, brother. As Tobirama scowled, I must send Team 7 on that mission, and if everything goes as he said it would, I might have just given myself the opportunity to save the lives of countless Konoha nins. According to Tobirama, and if you did, what then? Says Hashirama. I just don't know, I don't know. After Team 7 and their sensei entered the Hokage office later that morning, Hashirama greeted them and said, Team 7, I trust you are all doing great today. Sarutobi asked, what is it you wished to see us about, Hokage-sama? After each person nodded. Hashirama looked at all 3 and said, for the past few months your sensei and I have been discussing a mission to help strengthen the power and reputation of our village. The Hitaki clan has a summon for dogs which they claimed was bestowed on them for loyalty beyond that of any other human ever. About 5 years ago, the last clan head before he passed away told his son about 3 contracts that the dogs knew of as a secret test to see if the son was worthy of the contract for dogs or not. They gave him a set of riddles to each contract and told him he could track them down and use them if he wanted to, but the truth was you can only have 1 contract, so if he would have went after them then he would have lost the contract to the dogs. The son, Sakumo Hitaki, told Sarutobi here about the test around 2 years ago during a patrol. I have talked it over with my brother and we have decided that you three shall each track down one of these supposed summoning contracts, and if all three of you return safely and any one of you three should succeed in obtaining one of them, your sensei will have passed the test that Tobirama and I have set for him, and he will be named the Sandaime Hokage of Konoha. Should you fail, we will then have to find a way to test the other candidate for the title. I plan to retire soon and my brother will take over full time for me while beginning training Sarutobi in his duties as the new Hokage. If one of you three succeed, I do not know if the contracts are real, but the dogs have swore on their honor that these contracts were real. Orochimaru responded, "May I ask Hokage-sama, why is it that you are evaluating Sensei to be Hokage on the success of our mission?" Hashirama continued, "Simple, you three were his team strayed out of the academy. By you completing this mission you will show how well he taught you to survive, since each of you will be on your own while completing a task that could be impossible to succeed in. I am sure many people have went after these contracts in the past, and so I believe that if you can acquire them, then he trained and prepared you for anything, which is something a Hokage has to be able to do, because there are many decisions you will make that you will question if you did the right thing, and pondered, and pray that it does not come back to destroy you and the village, as he pictured Naruto." Tsunade responded, "Well, what are the clues and where are these contracts?" After removing 3 sealed scrolls, Hashirama froze, reflecting on what Naruto had said about their contracts. Each member of Team 7 questioned why he had frozen, so he placed them on the desk and said, "Please grab 1 scroll each. Inside each of those scrolls is one of the 3 riddles that was given to your sensei. You are to leave today and you have 6 months to complete the mission. You will have to figure them out on your own. I am sorry, but that is all the information we have on them," Hashirama said after Jiraiya swiftly grabbed one first, followed by Orochimaru and Tsunade. Jiraiya read from his scroll, "You must travel the earth and pass through the sands of time in order to get as close to heaven as possible in order to achieve enlightenment." Tsunade read as she opened her scroll, "Find a place that is lively and comfortable for everyone, because heat and cold are enemies of all living things. The sea will only impede your progress, and a steady pace will win the race." Orochimaru opened his and read after noticing that both of his teammates were looking perplexed. "You will need to make a sacrifice, and you will have to cross overgrown poison and pain swamps to enter the beast's belly. You have to enter a path without light where rain and marsh are commonplace." Jiraiya responded, "What in the world are these riddles? They don't make any sense." Hashirama continued, "That is why they have yet to be claimed, I believe, and you are tasked to figure them out. You may leave when ready. Do not take anything that links you to Konoha, but please be careful. You only have 6 months to complete this mission and return to Konoha. Do not take more than 6 months though." Team 7 members all nod slowly, and Tsunade inquired, "If I may ask, grandfather, where is Naruto at?" As Hashirama put it, "Why?" When Tsunade noticed that everyone was staring at her, she said, "I wanted to ask him about his summoning contract to see if he could give me any info on what to expect." Sarutobi stated, "Each contract is different, but usually to gain the contract you usually have to pass a test." Hashirama replied, "I do not know how he gained his contract, and he is not here any longer. Tsunade, do not worry about him and do your mission." When Tsunade saw her grandfather's expression, she scowled and asked herself, "Why is he so worried? Is it because of what happened with Madara, or is it something else?" She nodded and followed her team out the door after feeling her arm being touched and seeing her sensei make a head motion after they left. Hashirama sighed wearily and reflected, "I never would have believed before that I would actually want a mission to fail." After saying goodbye to her family and gathering her belongings, Tsunade was approaching the main gate with her pack 3 hours later when she asked herself, "What could that riddle mean? I don't understand." She asked, "What are you up to, Baka?" when she arrived at the gate and was shocked to see Jiraiya sitting there with a book in his lap. After a brief glance up, Jiraiya remarked, "Oh, hey flat chest, I was just thinking about something. I think I might have figured out my riddle." With a startled expression on her face, Tsunade blinked and questioned, "Really, what is it?" After removing the scroll containing his riddle, Jiraiya remarked, "Well, read mine, and then look at this." After reading it and glancing at a world sketch, Tsunade remarked, "Remember that painter guy we had escort on our first B-rank mission?" Tsunade smiles and responds, "Yeah, and he gave you that book when you wouldn't shut up about how you wanted to see the world like he did." Jiraiya replied, "Yeah, he wrote this book and in it is a rough sketch of the world with the desert, forest, sea, river, and other natural features. I was looking for what would be considered as close to heaven as you could get, or as close to the sky as you could get. I figured what it meant, and I noticed that there is a huge mountain range on this map. Then as I looked at the map I noticed that it actually makes sense in a way to go though the sands of time. I thought of actual sand, and you find sand in either a desert or a beach like here." He was pointing to the map. Tsunade continued, and the part of traveling Earth would be that area where between the mountains and the desert that is not actually that bad of a theory. I am impressed. If you're right, then all you have to do is find the highest mountain there, and you should find the contract in the mountains of Kumoham. As she examined the drawing, she pondered as she took the scroll out. If Jiraiya is right, then what would mine be? The sea will only stop your progress, meaning it's not on an island but somewhere actually away from the sea. Heat and cold are enemy to all, so it would have to be somewhere that is not hot like the desert or cold like the mountains or the area around the frozen tundra. A place full of life. That place where Earth that Jiraiya must go through doesn't seem to be that, since he shows very little plant life there on the map. Perhaps that would be the area, the grassy plains of Kuso, and now that I think about it, there is nothing on this map that shows it would cause you to change your traveling speed so you could travel at a steady pace. And replied, Jiraiya, I think I could kiss you for this, but I think you just helped me figure out my clue is as well. As he started to enter the gates, he ignored Jiraiya's cries of Teme and thought, from what I saw of the map and of my riddle, then I must head toward river country because it has lots of poisonous plants, insects that cause great deal of pain, swamps that grow back quickly even on mostly used paths, and it rains there more than anywhere else in the world. But what is the path with no light? Their third teammate's voice could be heard above them, and he said, well, if an idiot like Jiraiya could figure out these clues, then they must not be worth all the trouble to get them. It is odd that you have not come to face me, Hashirama. I was sure that you would have tracked me down to find out why I killed my brother, Uchiha Madara thought as he turned toward the west and started to walk away in contemplation as the members of Team 7 dispersed to go in different directions to search for the contracts they were told about. 2 weeks later, Tsunade was strolling through the grass country plains when she thought, stupid riddles. I have done crossed this country 3 times in the last 10 days and I have not found anything. She crossed her arms, went to a log that was lying on the ground, and took a seat. She sighed and remarked, it's peaceful here, as she sat there and observed birds soaring through the air, butterflies fluttering on flowers and close to the ground, and a rabbit munching on grass. After a half-hour rest, she stood up, looked around, and said, slow and steady wins the race, but where is the finish line? She started to walk, but halfway across the field, the ground collapsed beneath her, causing her to scream as she fell into a small cave and slid down a smooth surface before coming to rest at the cave's bottom. With a moan, she got to her feet and inquired, what happened? When a female voice said, you fell into our home, Tsunade turned to face a large slug. The slug said, relax, human. I am Katsuyu, queen of the slugs. Who might you be? And Tsunade began to back up. Tsunade responded, I am Tsunade Senju, granddaughter to Hashirama Senju, the Shodaimes Hokage of Konoha. It is an honor to meet you, Katsuyu-sama. Katsuyu responded, where were you going when you fell here, princess of Konoha? Tsunade replied, I was actually trying to find you. I think my grandfather has asked myself and my 2 teammates to look for 3 summoning contracts that he was told about from the summoner of the dogs contract. We were each given a riddle to follow, and my riddle was a steady pace will win the race. The sea will only stop your progress. Heat and cold are an enemy to all, so find a place that is full of life and comfortable for all. Katsuyu smiles and responds, I see, and you were able to figure out that riddle, but why should I let you sign the contract for my family? Tsunade replied, I don't know but why you should let me sign your contract, but if there is any way that I can prove myself, I am more than willing to do it. Katsuyu glanced at Tsunade and replied, there is a test. I have the ability to break myself into multiple slugs of smaller size, and it has helped me to take care of each of my children at the same time. If you wish to earn the respect of my family, then what you must do, go with each of my smaller forms who will have one of my children who each have different taste of plants that they like. They will tell you the name and you must find that plant they want. If you can find all of them before the first day of summer, then I will let you sign my family contract, but you only get 1 chance to find the correct plant, and if you do not find it, you will have to wait till you do every other one of my children before you will be allowed to try to find the correct plant again. However, if you fail, then to protect my family I will protect them by destroying you to keep the secret of our home safe, but if you find them all, then I will accept you as a member of my family. Do you understand? Hopefully all those herbs mom taught me, plants I learned for medicines, and plants grandfather taught me about will be enough, Tsunade said with a gulp. After transforming into thousands of 2-foot-tall slugs, Katsuyu left the room. A moment later, one of them returned carrying a smaller slug on its back, and the little slug exclaimed, fox breath. So how many children do you have? Tsunade asked, nodding. According to Katsuyu, a little over 400 inches. As they were led out of the cavern, Tsunade's eyes widened and she said, well, let's get going, she thought. Now I understand the part about going slow and steady. If I don't pace myself and take my time to get the correct plant, then I am dead. Jiraiya had been in the Kumo Mountains for a week after departing Konoha when he thought, stupid mountains and stupid summons. How am I supposed to find anyone when I can't even see because of these stupid clouds? He blinked as he ascended, feeling a curved rock with his hand and thinking, this feels almost like a breast made out of stone. He also wiped off a small nosebleed and then used the hand to feel the stone once more while daydreaming. He was laughing and stroking the stone that caught his imagination when he felt it suddenly shift toward him. The stone with Jiraiya on it fell toward the ground below, and he screamed, no. He hit a river and heard a crash behind him. He stood up slowly, wincing from the hard impact on the water, and saw a statue of a toad landed on its feet with cracks going through it. He also noticed that he had a bloody handy print on it, and he dropped perspiration and thought, note to self, never imagine a stone as a breast again, especially when it is a giant eyeball. As he started to follow the voices, Jiraiya's ear twitched in response to the sound of multiple female voices. He thought, oh, this is great, I can spy on some lovely ladies while they play in the water. He soon discovered a small waterfall and searched the area for the source of the female voices. He knocked a small stone off the edge of the cliff he was standing on while he was looking, and then he heard several shouts of, pervert. Coming from below in the water, Jiraiya saw several toads leaping up the side of the cliff, and just before the toads attacked him, he heard a female voice say, let's get him, girls. The frog was the largest one there, and as he was being attacked and beaten down, he heard a female voice. Upon awakening, Jiraiya saw a huge toad wearing a graduation cap. He exclaimed, ah, you must be Jiraiya, we've been expecting you. Yes, I am. How do you know me? Jiraiya said, swallowing. The older toad replied, relax, Jiraiya, I have foresaw your coming here for over 300 years now. I had a vision many years ago about a boy who shall stumble upon the mountain of the toads and be given the power of the toads. You shall become a pervert without equal, and you shall observe nature in all its beauty. You shall then train a child of prophecy who will either bring peace or destroy the world, the choice of which will depend on a choice you will make. Jiraiya responded, so if you knew about me coming, then why did you not just come get me? The older toad replied, now where would be the fun in that, Pa? Please take him to sign the toad contract and begin teaching him our ways. Jiraiya took one last look at the older toad before following the two smaller ones. After two toads leapt and landed on either side of her, Pa said, please come with us. After they had left, the older toad replied, I wonder how long it will take him to realize that I knew his name. I wonder though, what is the one who has the kitsune contract like that sent me that scroll? Rewind. When a green blur passed in front of the elderly toad, who was perched on his pedestal, he saw a two-tailed fox standing there and questioned, who are you and what are you doing in my lands? The fox replied, my name is Lee and I come on behalf of my summoner. He has asked me to deliver a scroll to you about the child of prophecy. How does your summoner know about the child of prophecy? The older toad asked, his eyes wide for a moment. Lee replied, I am afraid you will have to read his scroll to understand. According to the older toad, very well, Pa, Ma, please take the scroll away from him and read it to me. After landing next to Lee, Pa took the scroll from a pouch on Lee's back, opened it, and read. Salutations, Gamma Clan, I'm Naruto, and I would like to talk about your prophecy. After a boy stumbles upon the mountain of toads and gains the ability of the toads, he will become an unmatched pervert and witness the beauty of nature. He will then raise a prophetic child who will either bring about world peace or bring about its destruction. The boy's decision will determine which option he chooses. The three toads were now all wide-eyed, and the oldest one uttered the words, proceed. Pa reads and nods with the aid of the teachings of the sage arts. The prophecy has already been fulfilled through the actions of a kami and his blessings. The world was thrown into darkness, which destroyed everything, but it has since been redeemed. However, if you have another vision, make sure to give him the prophecy, because if he doesn't believe that the prophecy has yet to be fulfilled, the world could descend into darkness once more without any chance of redemption. Acknowledged. One of prophecy's two children finished the flashback. Orochimaru had been in river country for 6 weeks when he looked at the cave he was in and said, I will pass this test, I will not die here. You have surprised me so far, human, said Manda, who was curled up and flicking his tongue in the air across from him. Not only did you find the shrine of Yamato no Orochi, but you also sacrificed your own blood to enter our den and managed to locate the Kusanagi, grasscutter. However, you were poisoned by the snake that served as its sheath because you were unaware that it was alive. That was Kusanagi's guardian snake. Takeru's venom is just as lethal as the sword itself, and he has developed immunity to all of Kusanagi's poisons. You will have walked the path of eternal darkness. If you survive his venom, you will also be entitled to keep the Kusanagi sword and the snake contract, but you will have to sacrifice your enemies' lives for us. He smiled sickly and said, now let's see if you can survive the venom or not, human. Tsunade was reading in the Cavern of the Slugs 3 months after she had first left the Leaf Village when Katsuyu questioned, "What new lesson are you reading about today, princess?" "I was reading on how to repair damage to the heart," Tsunade said. "Looking up, I'm still shocked by what transpired." "And is everything as she said it was?" Katsuyu inquired. "You tested them? Is everything they said true?" "Yes," Tsunade replied. "I've tested it on multiple fish and discovered that every jutsu here performs exactly as advertised." Katsuyu inquired, "Do you trust them?" "At first no, but there is nothing I can say now," Tsunade said after taking a deep breath. "To be honest, it seems like the gifts they gave us were intended to be helpful. I just don't understand," she said, recalling the incident. Rewind on the day of the full moon. Tsunade gave birth to Katsuyu's last child, Hiko, while the miniature Katsuyu searched for a scarlet clover. Tsunade finally found it after searching for half a day, and she exclaimed, "That's the last one." "Well done, Tsunade, you've passed my test, taken care of my kids, and demonstrated a great deal of patience and knowledge about plants, herbs, and poisons," Katsuyu said as a puff of smoke and a scroll materialized next to Katsuyu. "I acknowledged you as the summoner of the slugs." Katsuyu replied, "Please sign your name in blood on this contract and place your handprint on it, and I will tell you the signs for the summoning." After following instructions, Tsunade saw the scroll rise in a cloud of smoke before Katsuyu could respond. A woman's voice said, "I see the slugs have gained a truly honorable summoner today." This caused both Tsunade and Katsuyu to turn to look around. According to Tsunade, "Who is there? Calm down, Tsunade-sama and Katsuyu-sama," the voice said as they watched a two-tailed red fox emerge from behind a tree and bow in front of them. They said, "I don't come here to harm either of you in any way." Katsuyu responded, "How did you find this place, Kitsune, and who are you?" The fox said, "My name is Sakura no Kitsune, and the reason I came here is that the person who taught me how to heal told me about it a long time ago. I was informed that the best herbs for creating medicines were found in the land of the slugs. I arrived here because my summoner anticipated that Jiraiya-sama would locate Gambunta-sama, Orochimaru would locate Manda, and Tsunade-sama would come to find you." Tsunade responded, "How does your summoner know about our mission and who we seek, and who is your summoner?" "You've already met my summoner, the person who beat your team in Konoha," Sakura remarked. "It's a secret how he knows that. Although your mother, the Nadaime, and the Shodaimes are aware of the truth, they did not accept it and asked him to leave Konoha and never come back. My summoner is paying attention to their requests, but he has good reason to want Konoha to be safe and strong, so he has sent you a gift, Tsunade-sama and Katsuyu-sama, as an offering to help keep Konoha safe during the upcoming difficult times." "What dark times does your summoner speak of?" inquired Katsuyu. "War, Katsuyu-sama," Sakura said. "There is going to be a massive conflict that will affect every country." Untrusting Sakura, Tsunade scowled and inquired, "What are these gifts that you have for us?" "I have all of my medical jutsu knowledge for you, Tsunade-sama," Sakura said. "They will assist you in healing minor wounds, organ replacement, poison removal, bone repair, chakra network repair, and much more. Regarding the gift for you, Katsuyu-sama, my master has given me a scroll with 2,000 fully grown plants to feed your family because he worries that when this war eats up the lands, your family won't be able to find food as you do now. Since we were unsure of your family's preferences, they're all herbs and spices and none of them are toxic." When Sakura took the scroll from 2 pouches on her back and placed them on the ground, both Tsunade and Katsuyu were in disbelief. Katsuyu questioned, "Why does your summoner want to protect Konoha, and why are you giving us your knowledge?" Sakura began to turn and leave, but she stopped as she was rising in smoke and uttered the words, "Because we don't want to see history repeat itself." Tsunade approached the scrolls, opened one, and started reading. Her eyes widened as she said, "Wow, I know a few of these, but I never even heard of some of these medical jutsu." Katsuyu and Tsunade were both in disbelief. "Please check the other scroll for me, Tsunade," Katsuyu said. Katsuyu looked at each plant, identifying them, and said, "I will accept the gift the Kitsune and their summoner have sent, and if you see their summoner again, please give him my thanks, Tsunade." Tsunade nodded, opened the scroll, and saw that 2,000 plants had unfolded themselves in separate plant beds. According to Tsunade, "Yes, Katsuyu-sama, finish the flashback." "Well, for the time being, I lean toward believing what the Kitsune have to say," Katsuyu said. "I never imagined that I would hear myself say those words, but Kami helped me." "I understand what you mean," Tsunade said with a chuckle. "I'd heard that Kitsunes were naturally cunning." After a few moments of silence, Tsunade questioned, "Is something wrong, Katsuyu?" "I don't think of Sakura as a Kitsune for some reason," Katsuyu remarked. "I have no idea why." Who knows, said Tsunade Katsuyu, is there anything I can do to help you in any way? Katsuyu replied, it's time for you to learn more about us aiding you in battle. Tsunade follows Katsuyu after nodding and getting up to seal the scroll. Alongside Jiraiya as he was panting, Jiraiya remarked, I never knew toads could be so tough. Don't be angry, Jiraiya-chan, Ma said, since before you were even born, I have been fighting. However, Jiraiya questioned, but why do you have to keep hitting me there? You peeked on my daughter in the waterfall, Ma said, tilting her head to the side. Let's go again now. Immediately, Jiraiya started to yell, not the face, no, not there, not there. Alongside Orochimaru as he threw snakes out of his shirt sleeves, Orochimaru, still in the cave, laughed, hee, now take this. The man he was facing was covered in snakes, which started to devour him. Good Orochimaru, good, Manda said. Glancing at Orochimaru, you kill your prey with no trouble at all. You deserve the snake contract, really. As he launched snakes out of his sleeve once more, Orochimaru remarked, prey always try to escape a predator. The snakes grabbed another man and yanked him away from the wall where he was hiding and into the center of the room, where Manda sprang forward, devoured him, and uttered the words, foolish humans. The idea that these men would look for a treasure in this location is astounding. Greed is a destructive emotion that will ruin your life. These were nothing more than bandits, Orochimaru declared. Madara, I look for more formidable prey. Soon, Orochimaru, soon, Madara said, you have to finish learning our fighting technique first. With a sparkle in his eye, Orochimaru said, then let's move forward, shall we? At Konoha as Team 2 stood atop a hot spring, each member was panting, and Nawaki remarked, 2 hours, I think that's enough sparing for now. Holding his ribs, Dango remarked, I believe you're right. Shoko may have broken one of my ribs. I apologize for that, Shoko said. I suppose I'm no longer aware of my own strength. When do you anticipate Sensei's return? I don't know, said Nawaki, who had reached the shore. Grandpa explained that he had to send Naruto Sensei on a covert mission because of an unforeseen circumstance. I must admit that we are all stronger now than we were before he gave us that scroll from Sensei. Shoko replied, yeah, so laps are next, right? Dango replied, yeah, we got to make 30 laps around the village in an hour. As he drank some water and tossed the bottle to Shoko, who drank some and tossed it to Dango, who finished it off, Nawaki remarked, then as soon as our short break is up we will get to them. After a few minutes, they both nod and begin running as quickly as they can without making any noise. As he shushed away, Tobirama reflected in a nearby tree, they're definitely stronger thanks to his training. They're at least Chunin level on everything but ninjutsu now. I think we were both wrong, brother. Alongside Madara, so do you agree to join me in my Akatsuki? Madara asked, glancing at the man on the ground in front of him. After a few seconds, the man said, only if you agree to let me handle the group's money. Madara started to leave after saying, very well Kakuzu, then let's go, shall we? I will have to replace 4 of my hearts soon since you destroyed them, Kakuzu said, standing up and clutching his ribs. Madara threw something over his shoulder and then put on a mask over his face, saying, don't worry, I know the perfect place to get them. By the way, for now put this on and call me Tobi. A Konoha Hiat, why are you giving this to me? Kakuzu asked after catching the object. Madara replied, what better way to start a war between the Leaf Village and other countries than to have a couple of Konoha nins attack other countries? Nodding, Kakuzu inquired, and the mask and name Tobi. The newly designated Tobi turned to say, Uchiha Madara has to disappear for now because my enemies know what to expect of me, but as Tobi they won't know it's me until it is too late. Tobi is a bird of prey that will fall upon my enemies, and the mask shows the spiral of destruction that will consume all that stand in my way. Kakuzu nodded his head and said, I never understood your logic, Tobi. You don't care for fame, fortune or glory. All you live for is power and revenge. But what do I care? I only care about getting more money. Now who shall we attack first? Tobi stated, Iwa recently tried to kill the grandson of Hashirama Senju. I think it is time for Hashirama to have his revenge. Hee. Alongside Naruto holding the ram sign intently, Naruto stood atop the ocean's water, which encircled the small island where Hashirama had placed him. A cage bun Shin on the bank 200 yards away yelled, 36 minutes. I would say you have completely mastered that jutsu. Naruto grunted as he released the seal, causing the 12 water dragons that were circling each other without touching to crash into the water below. Yeah, I can feel my water affinity has improved also, Naruto said as he stepped onto the shore. So what is the next water jutsu on Kakashi-sensei list? The replica replied, that was the last one. Actually you had completed the wind jutsu, non-elemental jutsu and most of the earth jutsu before we came back. Now that you have completed the rest of the earth and water jutsu, all we have left are around 200 fire jutsu, 75 lightning jutsu and around 100 odd elements. Naruto breathed deeply and replied, "Alright, let's work on the odd elements first and get them out of the way. I don't think I will ever be able to use lightning jutsu because of my primary wind affinity, and since I have basically mastered earth and water, which are both weaknesses of fire, they are probably out as well." The replica replied, "What about trying to work on your sand, wood, and ice jutsu?" Naruto sat down to rest, feeling really tired, and said, "I might be able to experiment with the ice by combining a water jutsu and a wind jutsu together, like the water dragon and wind dragon, and maybe a few others like that, but it takes 3 times the normal chakra to use ice than either of those jutsu regularly do. Wood is still mostly using that growth jutsu and concentration to manipulate it. If I could have got the Shodaimes to teach me a few of his wood jutsu, I might be able to do more, but Yamato-sensei only had so many wood jutsu himself, and he only let me learn growth to try and help make food for people, and even then it was not the best, and I had to channel sage chakra with it. Sand is mostly a pre-stage element. Gaara always had to infuse his chakra into the sand to be able to make it, which is why he always carried his sand with him. My fighting style takes speed to work, so using it as more than a distraction like I did back in Konoha is not really worth it. I guess the best I can do for now would be working on those odd elements and then see if I can upgrade a few of the jutsu Kakashi-sensei gave me. Give me the master scroll and dispel to inform the clones out at sea about what I planned and have them work of their Bunshin scroll list." As he rose in smoke, the clone uttered the words, "Right, boss." Naruto smiled when he heard the words. "You know, normally when people have conversations with themselves, it shows signs of mental instability." Naruto replied, "Yeah, but how many people can give an actual body to their mind and let it go wild?" Sakura. He started to pet her behind her ears after Sakura walked out and sat down next to him. She whined a little before unwinding, and he asked, "So how are you?" Sakura replied, "Good, but you haven't called any of us since you had Lee and I run those 2 missions for you." "I've just been here training and trying to relax," Naruto said, shrugging his shoulders. Sakura inquired, "But why aren't you out in the world enjoying yourself or going and tracking down your family?" Naruto stated, "I don't like trying to have fun alone, and with war fixing to start, people are suspicious of new people, so I won't be able to make any new friends, and as for my family, how am I supposed to do that? Go to a whirlpool country and say, 'Hi, I'm an Uzumaki from the future and I came to meet my family.' If they really are the nobles the brothers and Madara talked about, odds are they're stuck-up snobs, and I would become pissed telling them off and probably make some enemies, running the chance of mom and dad ever getting together." Sakura replied, "But why are you worried if they don't get together? You protected because of the Kyuubi chakra." Naruto breathed a sigh of relief and said, "But how many other people are going to cease to exist because of me? Hinata, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Kiba, Konohamaru. I think the best thing I can do is stay away from everyone and everything and let the world pass me by." Sakura gave Naruto a glare and said, "Don't you dare do that. Don't you dare use this as an excuse to not try to live because you're scared. Yes, the world is going to change, and yes, some of our friends won't be born, but then perhaps some new ones will. Don't deny the world the sun because you're afraid you might bring a drought. If you do, then eventually the world will die." Naruto let out a sigh. "Sorry, I just don't know what to do, Sakura. All I ever known is gone. This isn't my world. I'm probably the strongest person on the planet, and yet what can I do with the abilities I have? Make myself king and tell others what to do. I won't follow Madara path," she said. "Then find and follow your own path, Naruto. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a simple step. Don't plan where to go. Just go explore the world. I've done it myself some already. I went to places I knew in the future and I saw what it was like before it became what I knew. You should see Wave Country. There is only a single fishing village on that entire island. Now you have a second chance at life, Naruto. Don't waste it," as she went up in flames. After spending the next hour sitting there and watching the waves crashing against the coast, Naruto returned to his small cabin that he had constructed using the growth jutsu, just like Yamato, and started preparing a meal for himself. Tsunade had already left the slug's homeland and was returning to the village, which she had left almost 6 months earlier. She grinned as she remembered everything she had learned while working with the slugs and continued to walk down the road toward Konoha. She wondered why she hadn't been paying attention to her surroundings when the sound of something swiftly moving through the air interrupted her thoughts. She said, "Bees, I thought I was under attack or something, but all it was moving was bees. Damn. I need to wake up. Maybe I've been in the cave too long," as she rolled to the side and blinked. Tsunade was stung in the neck from behind when the 3 bees in front of her suddenly turned and charged at her. She attempted to knock them away. She grasped what was stuck to her, and before she fainted, she noticed a bee in her hand as her vision became blurry. Overhead, a female voice uttered, "Pathetic Konoha nins." A different individual stated, I expected better from the granddaughter of the Hokage, but no matter, she will be of use to us. What are your orders, Kamizuru-sama? A third voice inquired. We will take her back to Iwa while my summons delivers the message from my brother, the second voice stated. No offense Toji, but I still hate your bugs, the female voice said. Once a 3-foot-tall bee appeared, Toji Kamizuru said, deal with it. He bit his thumb, flashed through some hand signs, and slammed his hand on the ground, saying, Kachiyose no jutsu. Toji then went over to Tsunade, picked up her weapons pouch and pack, and put them together while taking a scroll out of his pocket and placing it in the bag. He then said, take this bag to Konoha and drop it in front of the guards at the gate before dispelling. Konoha is about 3 miles north of here. As Toji said, grab her and carry her Kagome. The bee snatched up the bag and started to fly north. Why do I have to grab her? Is it because I don't like your bugs? Inquired the woman, Kagome. Looking at the third member, Toji stated, no, I want her to reach my brother untouched, and we both know how Kiza is. As she grabbed Tsunade's body, Kagome said, alright, but she better be worth it. The three then departed. An hour later, a giant bee flew in front of the guards at the Konoha gates, dropping a bag on the ground before vanishing in smoke. As the guards surveyed the area, one moved forward, snatched up the bag, and exclaimed, stay at the gate, I got to get the Hokage. His eyes widened. The other guard inquired, what's wrong? According to the first guard, this bag has the Senju clan symbol on it. The first guard hurried off to the Hokage office as the second guard's eyes widened and he commanded, go. He knocked on the door when he got to the Hokage office, and a few seconds later, he heard the Hashirama Senju's voice say, enter. The security officer quickly spoke. Sorry to disturb you Hokage-sama, but moments ago a giant bee dropped this bag at the front gates before going up in smoke. It has your clan symbol on it. Hashirama's eyes widened, and he rushed over to grab the bag, saying, this is Tsunade bag. As he opened it, he discovered multiple used scrolls, but then he noticed one that had not been opened. Bearing his name, he grabbed the scroll, opened it, and read. Hi there, you pitiful worm. Even though my men were unable to murder your grandson, I will kill your granddaughter Tsunade Senju for your actions unless you give me your village without conditions. I'll have her publicly executed and return the pieces to you in a shoebox if you don't respond within 30 days. She will die if you try to save her. Kamizuru Teiseki. Tsuchikage Shodaimes. Glancing at the scroll, Hashirama went pale and spoke in a lifeless voice, leave me. Uncertain if he heard correctly, the guard said, sir. Then Hashirama yelled, Leave. As soon as the guard departed, Hashirama approached and collapsed back in his chair, feeling the weight of his age and asking himself, what do I do? After a week, a guard greeted Jiraiya as she entered Konoha's gates, saying, Ah Jiraiya, you're just in time. The Hokage and your team are in the Hokage office, please hurry. Oh, mission successful. I got the Toad contract, so once Flat Chest gets back you're the new Hokage sensei. What's up? Jiraiya said, blinking and nodding as he hurried to the Hokage office and saw Orochimaru, Sarutobi, Tobirama, and Hashirama there. I am afraid that things have gotten complicated, Jiraiya, Sarutobi said, casting a sorrowful glance at Jiraiya. Tsunade has been captured by Iwa, and they have threatened to kill her unless the village surrenders to them. Jiraiya responded, what are we waiting on? When are we going to rescue her? With a sigh, Hashirama said, we're not. He cast a sorrowful glance at his desk. What do you mean we're not? That's your granddaughter. Jiraiya screamed before he could say anything more. Hashirama slammed him against the wall while gripping him by the neck. Hashirama replied, I know who she is, but I can't surrender the lives of everyone in this village for just one person, no matter who he or she is. And you're just going to let her die? Jiraiya yelled. Team 2 was about to open the door to the office when they heard the shouting, and what was said. Nawaki bit his lip and fled the Hokage building, with both of his teammates in tow. Back inside the Hokage office, Hashirama closed his eyes and said, what would you have me do, Jiraiya? The ransom note said that if we tried to rescue her, then they would kill her. How many people are going to die just for her to be killed in the end? I wish there was a way to save her, but at the moment there is not. I am trying to figure something out, but I am no kami, so I can't do everything. Do we go to war for her? We are not that strong a village yet, Jiraiya. We only have 4 clans currently, the Senju with 6 actual members. The rest of the Senju clan we had back during our nomadic days have reclaimed their family names and have started their own families. Next is the Uchiha with around 40 members, though only 15 are ninja. The rest are either women and children who are not trained or elders who are too old to fight. Next we have the Hitaki clan, who is currently only has 2 members, Sakumo and his wife he married last year. The last is the Aburame clan, who has 30 members, but they are only just now getting their family hive together enough to be able to help make their clan part of the environment here, since they only joined 3 years ago, so most members who can fight are going to stay close to help get their hive going. We only have about 120 non-clan ninja, and only 40 of them are truly more skilled than genin. Yes, we have some adults, but they are mostly runins, farmers, and a few mercs who wanted to settle down, so they don't have much of a chance against higher level chunin or junin. We received intelligence that told us that other countries were preparing for war, so if we attacked Iwa to save her, most of our forces would be lost, and they could counterattack and destroy the village, or another country could strike. While we are vulnerable, we have no allies to help protect us, Jiraiya, but there is nothing we can do for the time being. I am directing Team 7 to collaborate with your sensei to form a 3-man team and get used to using your summons together. As they sadly left the room, all 3 of Team 7's members said, "Hi." Tobirama asked, "When are you going to tell Tuka and Nawaki, brother?" After they had left. Hashirama replied, "Next week. Until then I am going to see if I can find a way to save her somehow." As Tobirama put it, "What about him?" Hashirama looked at him and replied, "I don't know, brother. I have considered going up to Roki Island and see if he might still be there, but after what happened I doubt he is, and part of me still doubts him." Tobirama inquired, "How can you doubt him? Orochimaru has the snake and Jiraiya said he had the toad, just as he told you. The only one who we don't know is Tsunade, and I bet she got the slug contract as well. Then if he knew that they would get those contracts, then why didn't he warn us about her getting kidnapped?" Hashirama asked defensively, glancing at his brother. Tobirama slammed Hashirama against the wall, shocking him, and said, "Look at yourself, brother. Look what you are becoming. You said it yourself. You're only one person and can only do so much." He is only one person and can do so much. Maybe he did not know she would be kidnapped, or maybe since his past has been changed things are happening that he doesn't know about. Maybe something will happen over the next week and we find a way to save her. I don't know what, but it might. You need to get your head straight, brother. You're letting your feelings for Madara ruin everything around you. You don't come home since that night Tuka threatened to leave. You keep trying to find some way to show that Madara didn't kill his brother and take his eyes. You keep trying to find ways that show Naruto is the evil bad guy here when he has done nothing to earn the hate you have for him. Have you forgotten that it was Madara who kept attacking after Naruto gave up the match and he begged Madara to stop? What would you have done if Madara's attack would have worked? What if he had killed Naruto? Think about it, brother. I know how hard it is for you to admit it, but maybe Madara is evil. Maybe he was supposed to kill you. I don't know, and neither do you, but right now you need to start acting like the Hokage and figure out how to save the life of one of our ninja, sir." As he turned and left the office. When Nawaki and his group fled earlier, they ran to the Senju main house, where he screamed, "Mom, mom, mom. What's wrong, son? Why are you crying?" Tuka asked as she hurried into the front room to dry her hands on a towel. "Mom, she going to die. Grandpa is going to let her die," Nawaki screamed into his mother's shirt as he ran over and gave her a hug. Tuka appeared perplexed as she attempted to console her son. Both of his teammates then ran in panting, and Tuka questioned, "What's going on?" Shoko gasped. We were going to get a mission when we heard him and some others screaming. We heard them say that Tsunade been kidnapped and that they're not going to do anything about it. Listen to me. You 3, I want you all to stay here until I return. I am going to find out what's going on, okay?" Tuka said, her eyes widening as she rubbed her son's head and glanced quickly around the room. Tuka rubbed his head before she hurried out the door, and Nawaki took a step back and nodded as he wiped the tears from his eyes. She saw Team 7 departing the Hokage office, and as she approached the door to open it, she heard the words, "When are you going to tell Tuka and Nawaki, brother?" She heard Tobirama approaching as they were wrapping up their conversation, so she hurried home. When she arrived, she noticed that all 3 of the children were dejected. She looked around, picked up a scroll, and started writing on it. "I need to know something from all 3 of you. Will you help me try and save Tsunade?" she said. "As soon as possible," Nawaki said. "Tell us what to do, Mom, and we will do it to save Sis." The remainder of the group nodded and said, "All right, here's what I want you to do. I need you 3 to sneak out of the village without being seen and head north. Do you remember the island where your father took you to kill your first deer, Nawaki?" Nawaki replied, "Yeah, Mom." "Why?" Tuka responded, "I don't know if he is still there, but your grandfather said that he took Naruto there. I need you 3 to go there, and if he is there, give him this scroll. He is the only one I know who can save your sister. You must hurry, and remember, don't be seen leaving the village. I will cover for you 3, telling your parents and the Hokage that you 3 are doing some camping exercises you thought of in the woods around the village. If Naruto is there and he agrees to rescue her, then return here and inform me. Only if he is not, then I want you to stay there until I come get you and destroy this scroll. Make yourself a shelter and live off the land there, and if anyone from the village comes to find you, just say you went there for your camping exercise. If you're not back in 3 days, I will find some other way to save her, okay? Tuka said, okay, get what you need and go as soon as you can. Remember, time is very important. After all three nodded. A voice said, you know, you could get into trouble for that, Tuka, as the three of them went to get ready. When Tuka turned to face Tobirama, she said, I will do what I have to save my daughter. I might benefit from going camping with a genin team, Tobirama stated. Perhaps I could go and watch. With a gentle smile, Tuka said, thank you, Tobirama. For Tuka, that is what family is, Tobirama stated. Although my brother is aware of this, he is attempting to act in the best interests of everyone, not just the village. He trusts a traitor more than he does a hero, Tuka said, closing her eyes. Maybe, Tobirama said, although I still don't fully trust him. I do think he is from the place he claimed to be. He simply knows far too much that he shouldn't be able to know. He's the one who can save her, Tuka said. He will not allow anything to hurt her because he cares for her. No, he cares for someone like her, Tobirama stated. The woman he knew will never exist if what he said is accurate. You're right, that was quick, Tuka remarked as she watched 3 blurs fly by the window. They are much stronger now because of the training regimen he left them, Tobirama stated. I should probably start as well. He hushed. We can't let a genin team leave the village unguarded, can we? Tobirama was following Team 2, and he was shocked to see that they were heading toward the mountain rather than the village walls without saying anything, and with Nawaki leading the way, they quickly used chakra to ascend the mountainside, leaving the village by the rear retaining wall in 5 minutes. So much for village security, Tobirama thought. These 3 simply avoided it entirely, he said, trailing behind them. After the children had stopped for 3 hours, Shoko took out a bottle of water and drank some before throwing it to Dango, who responded, 13 clicks. After taking some, Dango threw it to Nawaki and uttered the words, 7 clicks to the border. After finishing the bottle and placing it in his pack, Nawaki remarked, if my memory serves me correctly, we should be there 5 clicks after the border. It should be just before nightfall when we arrive. Dango, you, Shoko, and the ration bars at the border are a half click behind me. We can set up some traps to lead them into if we run into problems. We agreed that I would scout ahead at a slower pace until you 2 caught up, and then we would push hard. The other 2 give a nod, and they depart. The thought, hold up, what the hell just happened and why are they acting like battle-hardened warriors instead of genin? Narrowed Tobirama's eyes. Tobirama tensed as he felt a kunai at his neck and heard someone ask, Great Uncle, why are you following us? How did you get behind me undetected? Tobirama asked, turning as he felt the kunai leave his neck and seeing all 3 genin in a defensive formation. Dango replied, Naruto-sensei sent us a scroll secretly by this strange fox that talked about youth a few months ago, and it had exercises on how to detect chakra, stealth, add a few jutsu like the one you have been following while we followed you. Those are Kage Bunshin no jutsu. But that jutsu is dangerous and chakra draining. How can you 3 make a Kage Bunshin? Tobirama said, his eyes widening. Shoko stated, with our chakra control nearly perfect and us doing all those chakra exercises as well as the weights we have on, we can make 1 each and then take off our weights and get most of our strength back within a few minutes. They are great for scouting and distraction. We only divide our chakra in half, but by not going full out while our clones do, we can recover our lost chakra. Sensei's scroll warned us about the danger of that jutsu and told us not to even attempt it until we could stand on top of water doing the leaf exercise for 5 hours without a break. We have only been able to do it for about 2 weeks now, but it does help greatly since we get a little more chakra every time we use that jutsu, and we use it once a day. Nawaki said, now explain, what are you doing here? In admiration of Tobirama. When Tobirama noticed Nawaki's solemn expression, he remarked, I came to make sure you made it to that island safely and see if Naruto is still there and ask him to save Tsunade myself. As he and the other 2 shocking Tobirama went up in smoke, Nawaki said, then hurry up and catch us. Tobirama thought, I got outsmarted by kids, damn. What is the world coming to? And hurried to catch the 3 genin. Shoko remarked, Naruto-sensei is so cool teaching us code talk also, so we knew where our Kage Bunshin appeared. Was great to fool Tobirama-sama. Nawaki grinned as he recollected the memories with his teammates. As he and the other 2 increased their speed, Nawaki remarked, yeah, but let's make him work to catch up. When Tobirama finally caught up to them an hour later, he ran past treetops with the 3 genin and remarked, we never tell anyone about this, agreed. We first locate Naruto-sensei and persuade him to save sis, Nawaki stated, then we can discuss how we beat you. Okay, he said, looking over his shoulder. Tobirama scowled and uttered the words, "Damn." When they arrived at the island, Tobirama said, "This way, I can detect a large chakra source on the other side of the island." He then stood in front of the 3 genin and led them to the location where he felt the chakra throughout the remainder of the journey. Tobirama observed the 3 genin and saw a side of them that he had never seen before. When the 4 of them reached the opposite side of the island, they all gasped when they saw Naruto floating 30 feet in the air in a lotus position with his hands in hand signs that none of them recognized. He then yelled, "Holy arts! Swords of light!" 12 swords made of light surrounded him in a circle about 100 yards wide before a wall of light connected to each sword formed a shield. After 5 minutes or so, the swords and the light vanished, leaving Naruto floating in the air until his body started to turn and plunge toward the water below. Naruto splashed into the water below, and Shoko yelled, "Naruto-sensei." Naruto slowly swam back to the top of the water after Tobirama ran out to where he had struck him when he surfaced. He said, Think I can get a lift back to land. I sort of overdid it with that last jutsu." As he made his way to the island, Tobirama seized Naruto, threw him over his shoulder, and questioned, "What was that?" "A gift from someone I hold dear," Naruto uttered, "although you probably don't believe me, she was a priestess." He was seated by Tobirama, who said, "Really?" He got up, took a step back, and gestured to the children, saying, "I do think that now, but now is not the time." "Naruto-sensei, Mom asked me to give this to you," said Nawaki as she approached. "Please, you must assist." As he accepted the scroll from Nawaki, Naruto appeared perplexed and noticed that Tobirama had an angry expression on his face, but he chose to remain silent. Naruto started reading after opening the scroll. "Naruto-kun Tsunade has been taken, and from what I gather, Hashirama is prioritizing his feelings for the village over his family's needs. Please help her." Tuka. Everyone's spines tingled as Naruto stood up slowly, his eyes hardening, and he said in a commanding voice, "Explain now." Tobirama stated, "Almost 10 days ago we received Tsunade belongings in a scroll that was addressed to my brother. It was delivered by a bee summon." As Naruto put it, "Damn it, Iwa." Tobirama inquired, "How do you know that?" As he flexed his hands and pointed at the 3 genin, Naruto remarked, "I ran into the bee contract when I was 14. It was a relative of the Shodaimes Tsuchikage. Now continue." Tobirama replied, "Well, you're right about Iwa. The Tsuchikage said he may have missed killing Team 2, but he would not miss killing Tsunade for what we done unless we surrender the entire village to him in 30 days. If we don't, then he was publicly going to execute her and send her body back in a shoebox. He also said that if we tried to rescue her, then they would kill her." After scowling, Naruto questioned, "And what is Konoha response?" With his eyes closed, Tobirama uttered the words, "The needs of the many." Gritting his teeth, Naruto extended his hands, formed a Rasengan inside, and slammed it into a tree, destroying everything but the final 30 feet at the top. As the tree started to fall, he vanished in a blur, and the tree broke into splinters as he hit it. At this point, Naruto was panting and replied, "I understand that saying better than anyone, but I still hate it because those who are in the few always get shit on because of it. Any idea where they're holding her?" Tobirama replied, "No, my brother has been trying to increase the security of the village and prepare for an attack if it should come." To which Naruto replied, "And the part about what you have done?" Tobirama replied, "No clue. The only thing we could think of is when you killed 2 of his men when you rescued Team 2 here." "Do you have any chakra pills?" inquired Naruto. According to Tobirama, "I have one." After a brief argument, Naruto held out his hand, and after snapping his fingers while continuing to do so, Tobirama gave him the pill, which Naruto then consumed. After a few seconds, he said, "Lesson kiddies, don't use them unless it is absolutely necessary." He then proceeded to flash through hand signs, gathering a large amount of chakra, and as he slammed his hands on the ground, the others saw a huge puff of smoke. Chakra pills are a double-edged sword. They restore some of your chakra quickly, but they burn the food stores in your body, and using them too much will cause you to die from lack of vitamins and nutrients. A number of foxes were standing there when it cleared, and they all glanced around before turning to face Naruto. Sakura inquired, "What's wrong, Naruto? You wouldn't summon us all unless there was an important reason." Naruto stated, 10 days ago Tsunade was captured by Iwa. Konoha official labeled her a black ops. I've been asked by those here and by Tuka to rescue her. I need your help, Sakura. What would be the most likely way she would have come back from the land of slugs?" After giving the statement some thought, Sakura remarked, "Nehi rode till she got to the branch to wave." Nodding, Naruto continues, "Neji, Lee, I need you both to head that way with Sakura and see if you might be able to find some clue as where she was attacked, but hurry. We don't have much time. I don't know how they got her, but I do know that they delivered the ransom note with a summon bee, and I know they have a clan in Iwa like Shino clan who used bees instead." I am nearly out of chakra, so I will be coming tomorrow. Karen, Haku, Yakumo, I need you to follow those three, but don't take the main roads. All three of you have knowledge of unknown roads and see if you can find any clue of her that way. If by the time you reach the wave branch and don't find anything, then head to meet with Sakura, who will stay showing where Neji and Lee branched off to follow the trail. Then you three will follow them to see if you can get any info for me. Use everything at your disposal, but no killings, and try not to draw too much attention. I will meet up with Sakura tomorrow and follow with her. I hope you all can help. According to Neji, we can Naruto trust us? Sakura screamed, Shanaru, as she slammed one of her tails into the ground, forming a spider web 10 feet wide. Everyone except Naruto and the Kitsunes were shocked when Karen transformed into a human, and she uttered the words, "Damn Sakura, don't destroy the place." As she ran into the woods, Sakura gave her a death glare and remarked, "Try to keep up, bitch." Neji and Lee swiftly followed. As she started to jump through the trees, Karen popped her back and said, "Sometimes I really miss being human, let's go." The other two started to follow. Dango questioned, what did she mean she missed being human, after they had left? Naruto glanced at them and said, "There is an old saying, a butterfly on one side of the world flapping its wings can create a tsunami on the other. I am the butterfly who flapped my wings here." Tobirama's eyes widened as he realized the illusion and inquired, "Are they from your home village?" As he started to enter the woods, Naruto remarked, "Yeah, but sadly their family never will get a chance to know them now." Tobirama remarked, "You've been busy," as they soon came upon the cabin. When the others entered, Tobirama's eyes widened and he asked, "How is this possible?" Naruto entered silently, leaving the door open. "The power of seals," said Naruto. "Although it appears to be a typical 20 by 20 house from the outside, the interior is 100 by 100 to make it this long. I just drew a seal that, although it is actually a time-space jutsu, distorts the room like a genjutsu in approximately 1 hour. Dinner will be ready." As he walked out of the room, he said, "Go ahead and unwind while I prepare my belongings." As the genin started scanning the room, Tobirama tried a number of different strategies to block out what he was seeing and thought was amazing. How did he accomplish this? It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Tobirama questioned, "Can I ask, how did you design the seal for this place?" As Naruto returned holding 6 scrolls and placed them on the ground. "I didn't," Naruto said. Raising his head, Jiraiya received his summoning contract from a pond. It appears to be just 10 feet by 10 feet in width, and a waterfall composed of sage chakra cascades into it. Since the toads are linked to the water, they will not perish if the sage river ever runs dry thanks to the seal's infinite storage design. Even after running into that pond for a millennium, it still doesn't appear to be any more or less than it was before. As he unrolled all 6 scrolls side by side, they rolled for more than 30 feet. "I learned the seal while I trained to use the sage arts." When he saw the scrolls with the seals on them, Naruto nodded, bit his thumbs, and simultaneously rubbed blood on all 6. The scrolls started to cover themselves in smoke, and Naruto flashed through hand signals, saying, "Late for a date, no jutsu." All of his clothes flew off, but his boxers flew away, and Shoko eeped as she turned away from the red face. A blue mesh shirt, a blue shirt, a black vest, a pair of black socks, and a pair of black combat boots were all grabbed by Naruto as he got up and said, "Sorry." He then picked up 2 boxes of kunais and set them on the ground. While everyone was watching, he stepped his right boot on one of the boxes, then his left, and the boxes vanished in a cloud of smoke. As everyone arched an eyebrow, Naruto quickly stood back and flipped, sending a kunai flying out of his boot and striking the roof. Jumping up, Naruto grabbed it, put it on the ground, and stepped on it once more before putting on 3 weapon holsters, 2 on his left leg and 1 on his right, grabbing a box of shurikens and putting it in the upper left pouch, another box of kunais and putting it in the upper right pouch, and finally grabbing 2 boxes of red shurikens. "Sensei, what's those red ones for?" Nawaki inquired. With a sly smile, Naruto declared, "Shurikens explode. My own design." He then seized 20 scrolls and remarked, "White are medical supplies, reds are exploding notes, green is food, blue is water, black are camping supplies, and orange are personal items like cloths," as he saw the genin about to say something. Then Tobirama said, "And yellow, I pray that I never open that scroll." Naruto said, "Many people will perish at my hands if I do. My father became the head of my hometown because of it. He used the jutsu inside of it to kill 1,000 men in less than 3 minutes every Junin and Chunin." With a terrified expression on his face, Tobirama remarked, "I hope you never have to use it also." Then, he sighed and snatched up a black and orange cloak, which he slipped over his clothes. He then picked up another scroll and threw it to the ground, where it bounced back up above his head. On the way back down, he grabbed it, Smearing blood across it, he was covered in smoke, and when he reappeared, he was wearing a white wife beater and blue shorts. Nawaki replied, "That was so cool, what happened to all that stuff you just put on?" "This scroll was made by my godfather," Naruto stated. "It was so that he could be dressed instantly by activating the seal in this scroll in the event that he had to leave during more private moments. I once carried one for each day of the week." "Can you teach us how to do that?" inquired Nawaki. After giving Tobirama a quick glance, Naruto remarked, "Perhaps if the Hokage allows me to and you pass my test I will." Dango inquired, "What will the test be, sensei?" Naruto gave him a look and remarked, "The day you discover the source of true strength, not until." As he vanished in a cloud of smoke, another Naruto entered the room and said, "Let's eat." Said Naruto, "Dinner's ready." When Tobirama approached him from behind, Naruto said, "Go ahead." As the sun rose over the ocean the following morning, "What is it that you have been thinking about all night?" "Your abilities to identify people are excellent," Tobirama remarked. Looking back at Tobirama, Naruto remarked, "That's not what you wanted to ask." "What is your plan to try and save her?" Tobirama inquired. "I'll save her," Naruto declared. "There won't be an attempt," he said, his eyes hardening. "All right," Tobirama said, raising his hands, "but why are you so determined to save her? When you read that scroll yesterday, I noticed something from you that I had never seen before. Fear." After a few minutes, Naruto said, "She is not my Tsunade, but I am grateful for that because I promised myself that if I ever had the chance, I would do everything in my power to improve her life, and she was the only person in my life for whom I truly felt something, even though I knew it wasn't like everyone else's. She never showed concern for me out of sympathy, obligation, guilt, or thankfulness. I was the reason she cared about me the day she passed away. She died in my arms." The survivors claimed that I had done it to protect them and to halt the enemy, but in reality, I did it because of her. That meant more to me than anything else in my life. I wanted to exact revenge on her, so I killed 400 ninja that day. If someone has hurt Tsunade, Iwa won't be around anymore, so screw the future. One nation as a whole in the world. Because of me I'm capable of doing it once more. After a few seconds, Tobirama inquired, "Do you love her, your Tsunade, I mean?" "I'm not sure." Naruto shrugged his shoulders. "I had no concept of what love was. I can't really explain why, but there were times when she used me to replace Nawaki and other times when she used me to replace Dan, her finance director. I enjoyed the feeling that I was everything to her when things got tough. She was mine, and I was her crutch." Tobirama inquired, "So what are you planning to do to save Tsunade?" "If she has not been hurt, I will get her out with the fewest lives possible," Naruto said without a word. "If she has been hurt, however, Iwa, has never been fond of Namikaze." "And after you save her?" Tobirama shook his head. "Don't worry about cleaning up when you leave," Naruto said as he turned and started to move. "I have clones in the house that clean at specific times and prepare meals for guests when they arrive." He departed in a flurry of leaves, saying, "I got to go, see ya." As the sun rose, Tobirama thought, he's more concerned about her than he admits. However, I'm curious how much. An hour or so later, Tobirama was sitting on a stump when Team 2 emerged, and Nawaki inquired, "Where is Naruto-sensei?" "He left earlier in order to save your sister," Tobirama stated. "Are all three of you prepared to return?" Tobirama said, "All right, now keep in mind that this was a training exercise for staying in the woods." As the three of them exchanged glances and nodded, "Neither Naruto nor anyone else was visible to us. No one else should know, okay?" All three of them nodded once more, and he said, "Good, let's go." "Should we clean up first?" inquired Dango. Naruto said he had something that would do it, so don't worry about it. Tobirama said, "Let's go." While Team 2 was departing, Nawaki gazed at the scroll in his weapons pouch and asked himself, "What did Naruto-sensei give this scroll to me for and told me not to open it until Sis was back home safely?" After searching Nehi Road for Sakura for 4 hours, Naruto landed next to her and inquired, "So what did you find?" "We were lucky to find anything at all," Sakura remarked. "We wouldn't have discovered this location if it weren't for a clan insignia on the bottom of a shoe where someone leapt from a tree and hit the ground with force." As she displayed a clan symbol close to the wood's edge, Sakura moved a bush and revealed a dead bee. "It actually took passing here 3 times before we found it," she said. Naruto replied, "So they used the bees to sedate her like they did Hinata, huh?" "That's what I would recommend," Sakura said. "About 7 hours ago, the others left to follow the trail for that clan symbol as she fled through the forest. She said, 'Follow me.'" After following for a few hours, Naruto and Sakura stopped by Karen, Haku, and Yakumo, who were all sitting on a hill. He said, "Well, what's up?" "We learned that 2 individuals wearing Konoha have been attacking border villages," Haku stated. "According to their reports, the people's appearances vary, so either two people or a group are wearing henge before any security can arrive. They murder a few people and depart. With a frown, Naruto remarked, so that explains why they attacked her, but anything on Tsunade? She's in the Tsuchikage compound in Iwa itself right now, Karen stated. In order to learn more about security, Lee and Neji are going to scout the area. According to what I've been told, the Tsuchikage himself is the only one who can access her. Naruto inquired, how reliable is the info? Karen stated, his brother was in one of the towns trying to track down clues as to who the attackers are, and I flirted with him and got him drunk, and I asked what our dear Cage was doing to stop this madness, and he told me. Naruto responds with a nod. Alright, the four of you can go, and I will meet up with Neji and Lee, and once I get the info from them I will figure out how to save her. All four give a nod, and Sakura said, good luck, before departing, joining the others in the smoke. Tobirama remarked, alright you three, go home and rest. Good job on the survival training, though we will have to do it again to make sure of where you are at some time soon, as Team 2 entered Konoha. As they went their separate ways, all three said, hi. When Tobirama arrived at the Hokage office, he noticed his brother dozing off at the desk and said, why don't you go home, brother? Hashirama said, I can't, after looking up and wiping the sleep from his eyes before casting a sorrowful glance at his brother. Until this is over, I can't face them. Then what are you going to do? Asked Tobirama. After a few minutes of silence, Hashirama declared, I'm going to resign as Hokage and prepare her funeral. With Monkey as your apprentice, let you assume complete control. Tobirama responded, and what if a miracle happens and she is not killed and returned home? Hashirama replied, we both are old enough to know that miracles like that don't happen. As he slammed the door behind him, Tobirama turned and began to leave, saying, just like time travel, but we both know that happens, huh? The following day had already passed when Naruto finally caught up with Lee and Neji, who were perched atop a hill overlooking a valley with Iwa at its far end. So, what did you guys find? Inquired Naruto. It's not good, Naruto-kun. Lee remarked, the four patrols between here and the border right are undoubtedly visible to you. You know, Naruto said, blinking and turning to face the back, I thought I felt chakra but I wasn't for sure. Neji chuckled as he said, you went right down the middle of all four patrols right outside of their detection zone, Naruto. Ah, you know fun Neji. Naruto sulked. I wanted to give Lee a shout out. At another time, Neji said, in any case, we discovered that she is presently located next to the village's back wall in the basement of the clan compound. Only the Tsuchikage can enter her room because of the seals that run the length of the walls. Since we arrived, they have twice brought her food, which they slid through a slot at the bottom of the door at 8 AM and noon. She looks healthy, but she is unable to use her super strength or any jutsu because of a chakra suppression seal around her neck. That means either I would have to remove it or get her out as a civilian. Naruto scowled. Could you tell me more about the seal? Naruto whistled and remarked, damn, 6-level seals, as Neji shifted to the side and he drew a seal in the ground with his claw. Someone completed their homework. Lee inquired, how good of a seal is it, Naruto-kun? It would take 4 Junin level shinobi and a seal master to break it normally if Neji's drawing is 100% accurate. Naruto stated, I can replace the Junins with Kage Bunshin, but if I don't want to kill her, I'll have to wait until we're far away because breaking that seal will send a chakra pulse that every ninja will be able to detect all the way to the border. Could you tell me if you see where they might carry out the execution at Neji? After a few minutes of silence, Neji stated, a small platform is located close to the town's west side. It appears to be a stage used for public announcements during the Kyuubi festival. Inquiring, have you noticed the patrols in the village? Naruto rubbed his eyes. Yes, Neji said there are approximately 500 ninja in the village itself, and 72 ninja are always on patrol throughout the village. Additionally, there are 2 garrisons 5 miles to the east and west of the village, each containing about 300 ninja to stay in touch. They use messenger birds, smoke signals, and runners. For some reason, Iwa always had the numbers on other hidden villages, Naruto said, biting his lip. According to the chakra signatures I sensed, Konoha had no more than 150 when I was there last, and the majority of them were Chunin or lower. What the hell? Neji said, attracting Naruto and Lee's attention. What is it, my young friend? Lee inquired. 4 teams of 6 just popped up out of the ground from underground tunnels at random spots in the valley, Neji said. After a few minutes of silence, it appears that the patrols close to the border will be replaced. That's not good, said Naruto with a frown. How many of those gopher tunnels exist and what they connect are unknown. Under this valley, there might be a whole network of bases as well. The village cannot be attacked unless I commit genocide, which would probably result in her death. Keep an eye out until nightfall, and if nothing new emerges, Head home, have Karen locate me in Iwa if anything does appear. As he placed his hands into a seal, a brown-haired, brown-eyed man took his place, and he started to approach the village slowly, like a civilian, saying, I will be working on learning the village and see if I can find something to work with. The guards questioned Naruto, who are you and what are you here for? When he eventually reached the gates. My name is Kabuto, and I'm from a small farm in marsh country. Naruto stated, I want to experience life in a village away from caring for animals, watering fields, and other such tasks because I'm sick of being a farmer, if you understand what I mean. I want to have some fun and excitement with the ladies. Since this was the biggest nearby village, I figured I would come see what I could find. You know, any place a guy could have some fun, hee, she said, ending with a perverted giggle. Try the over-the-shoulder boulder holder, one of the guards said after they exchanged glances and shrugged. On the east side of the village is a topless bar, but be careful, the owner is extremely protective of his girls. Naruto nodded and started to enter the gates, saying, thanks, I appreciate it. The guards inquired, how long are you planning to stay? Until I get my itch to quit scratching, Naruto said, scratching his head as he turned and entered the village. He said, perhaps longer. One of the guards said, think we should warn him about that girl with crabs, as he was on the verge of losing his hearing. In response, the other guard said, no, let the dirt farmer catch something that will really end his itch. According to Naruto, genocide is starting to look more and more favorable. After about half an hour of walking, Naruto saw a number of shops, the location of the stage Neji had mentioned, and the bar he had been told about. Well, that would be a good place to start, he thought when he finally noticed a hotel that caught his eye, but only after he figured out how to save her. How can I give it a try? After spending the remainder of the day exploring the town and discovering the building where Tsunade was, Naruto sat down in a small park, observed some kids playing on the playground, grinned, and remarked, they will never know what hit them. The next bench was occupied by a woman who said, what do you mean, sir? Ah, hello, miss, Naruto said, blinking and assessing the woman. I apologize for shocking you, but I occasionally think aloud that those children will be so shocked by the future that they will never understand what happened to them. I was just thinking about the future, wondering what it might be like to settle down and start a family of my own again, because everyone has been antsy everywhere, like something big is about to happen, something that will change the world. In her own words, I see you not from around here, are you? No, Naruto uttered, the name's Kabuto, miss, and you are? Terra. The woman said, Terra, you're here observing a younger sibling, Naruto said. You're too adorable to be a mother, she said, smiling slightly. Actually I am one, Terra said with a smile and a slight flush. My daughter is the little girl wearing the sundress over there. You mentioned that you were considering starting a family once more. If it's okay with you, may I inquire what happened to them? I had a daughter once, Naruto sighed. I suppose you could say that her mother and I were friends with benefits. She was actually a priestess, as amusing as that sounds. And we had a daughter because she was not permitted to marry. Unfortunately, her village was attacked while I was farming, and you can imagine the rest. I visited her village and we hit it off after a short while. I'm sorry to hear that, Terra said, observing the sadness in Naruto's eyes. Both my husband and I were ninjas before I had my daughter about 6 months ago. He went on a mission and didn't return, and we were on the same genin team. Suddenly feeling ill, Naruto said, really, if I may ask, what was the mission? He was sent to deliver a message to Konoha. Terra stated he never came back, though I'm not sure exactly what happened. The thought crossed Naruto's mind. Shit, that means he was one of the men I killed. Terra was looking at him and saying, you know it's about time for my daughter to take a nap. Why don't you come by and have a cup of coffee with me, Kabuto? Naruto replied, sure I guess, but I wouldn't want to be a burden. You won't be, Terra said. The little girl ran over to Terra after hearing the words, Selen dear, it's time to go. Naruto noticed that Selen had brown hair and greenish-orange eyes, just like her mother. Selen said, Mommy, he looks funny with, after glancing at Naruto. Dear, don't talk about people looking funny, Terra said, covering Selen's mouth. They might not enjoy it. All right, Selen said. Mom, with a smile, Terra said, come on, Kabuto-san. She started to leave while holding her daughter's hands, saying, my place is just a block away. When Naruto saw the girl and her mother, he felt ill and thought, it's my fault he's not here now. They soon arrived at a 2-story house, where Terra held the door open for Naruto. After unlocking it when he entered, she said, please take a seat. I'll put that coffee on after I put her to bed so we can talk. Terra and Selen left after Naruto nods and takes a seat. She came back in a silk house robe about 10 minutes later, and Naruto watched as she sat down beside him and said, the coffee will take a little bit, and, before he knew it, she had leaned over and started kissing him. Tara slipped over and placed a leg on each side of Naruto, who slowly ground her hips into his and never broke the kiss. Naruto slowly returned the kiss. Before he could react, Naruto felt a kunai at his neck. Naruto moaned as his body reacted, and when Tara broke the kiss, she looked into his eyes and asked, "So why did you kill my husband?" With a gasp, Naruto questioned, "What are you talking about, Tara? I don't know what you're doing to change your appearance right now, but I can see the real you." Tara grinned. "You have blonde hair, blue eyes, facial whiskers, and an orange cloak with black flames running across the bottom." Blinking, Naruto pondered, how can she tell? Nobody can tell. With a laugh, Tara said, "Now tell me, why did you kill him, and don't lie." Naruto murmured, "I was walking through the woods and I detected a quick chakra surge. I went to investigate to see what was going on and saw a man dead on the ground and saw 3 kids about 12 years old and saw one of them about to be killed by a ninja. I instantly realized it was a genin team, and by the way they were acting it was probably their first higher rank mission. It reminded me of my own sensei who took my team on a mission we were not ready for and how that one ended, so I decided to save the girl who was about to die." The nins that was attacking the genin looked at me and got ready to fight, and after a few short words demanding to know why I saved them, and I said my reason were my own, they then attacked me and I killed 2 in self-defense, and the third one targeted the kids and ran away while I saved them. "So you're not a ninja of Konoha?" inquired Tara. Gazing directly into her eyes, Naruto said, "No, I suppose you could say I am freelance with a slight connection to Konoha. I have a few friends there now. What are you going to do, get revenge for your husband?" Tara gave him another passionate kiss while grinning and saying, "Nope, this." Tara looked at Naruto and said, "I want to tell you thank you. My husband was an asshole. I told you how we were on the same team already as genin. Well, the bastard drugged my food on a mission, and when I woke up he was passed out on top of me, and I was pregnant with Selen. I put the bastard in the hospital, but my father, the greedy bastard, he was, instead of acting as a father should, sold me to my dear husband for $200. The bastard got rewarded with his own personal slave for what he did to me." Naruto replied, "I am sorry to hear that. There are times I am sickened by the fact I am a man with people like him." Tara responded, "So tell me, what are you doing here? Huh, let me guess, you're here to save the blonde, right?" With a frown, Naruto uttered, "I don't know why." Tara rested her head on his shoulder and said, "Listen, I can help you rescue her, but in return I want you help. I want you to take me and my daughter away with you from this village. I hate it here and I don't want my daughter raised here." After swallowing, Naruto questioned, "Where will you go and what makes you think I can help you?" Tara raised her eyebrows and replied, "I don't know, I am just hoping that you could. I figured if I helped you then you could help me." "And this?" Naruto asked, gesturing to the way she was on him. Tara gave a seductive grin and said, "You're cute and I never let that bastard touch me again after what he did to me, and no one else has either. I am a woman and I have needs and well." Naruto replied, "How did you see the real me? Nobody can see through my jutsu." Tara replied, "Oh, that, remember how my daughter was going to say you look funny. She saw through it just as I did. You see, I have a bloodline from my mother's side. It's called the soul eye. It's not much use in combat, but it is great at detecting spies under henges and other forms of deception. Every person's soul is a copy of them, but you can't change what your soul looks like with a jutsu. Whenever someone is within 200 feet of me who is under a genjutsu or henge or whatever it is you are, then there is like a red outline around you, and if I look close enough I can see what you really look like. As far as I know, my daughter and I are the last to have it though, and if the Tsuchikage ever found out then we would become breeding stock, and that is not the life I want for my daughter." With a slow nod, Naruto said, "I see." He then leaned forward, startling Tara, kissed her, grabbed her by the hips, got up, broke the kiss, and asked, "Where's your room?" "That way," Tara said, her eyes wide with excitement, "down the hall and the last door on the left." With a nod, Naruto carries her to the bedroom, where he uses his foot to push open the door and shut it behind him. He then carries her to the bed, where he continuously kisses her. He is covered in smoke as he places her on the bed, exposing the real Tara. She licks her lips and runs her hands over his chest and stomach, and he starts stripping while she unties the strap that holds her gown together. Once naked, he gazed down at Tara's body and licked his lip. Tara waved her finger at him, and he started to climb on the bed, kissing her body as he went until he reached her lips. When the kiss ended, Tara questioned, "Does this mean you will take us with you?" Naruto replied, "I would have took you with me even without this. All you have to do was ask honestly, and I would help. I always try to help those who are hurting so others won't have to suffer. So do you still want this, or?" Tara flipped him over and gave him a passionate kiss. Naruto felt her as she slowly slid onto him. He waited for her to adjust, and when she gradually started grinding her hips against his, he reciprocated with interest. Tara soon started groaning with pleasure as Naruto positioned his arms behind him and started sucking on her nipples while she wrapped her legs behind his back. Another kind of pleasure was occurring close to the Iwa border as the two reveled in the pleasures of the flesh, seeing a village burn to the ground while blood from the dead ran down the street. Toby chuckled and remarked, soon the world will bow before me.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.